on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Hey, good morning on this fine Thursday in the great city of Omaha. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Half of that combination is present today.
Mornings with Handley.
Mornings with Handley and Jimmy. Handley and Chavez, my friends. It is Gary's, I guess we call it obligatory day off during the College World Series. Those guys have been working, burning the candles at both ends.
Or John's going to need an oil change.
Well, and as you heard there, we've got another one. But as always, we are very happy that you are with us. Appreciate you making us part of your morning here on this Thursday. LSU wrecking the party. Florida is in. Now, that game, Jimmy, I thought would be a little bit more in favor of Florida. But as you heard in the highlights with John Bishop in our Westwood One coverage, which has been fantastic, you had a lot of drama to the very last out. And I know John is not going to complain about doing these games. This is the labor of love, folks. But Josh Peterson and I were getting ready to go on the air. So we're sitting there in Baseball Village. And when that ball went up and we were listening to the call, we weren't actually watching it. We were listening to the call. We're like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Is this thing about to be tied? And
you're about ready to just like, well, I'm just going to take a nap here.
Yeah.
Be a while.
Well, and then, I mean, immediately we thought of John and we're like, oh, thank goodness he caught that. Now, sorry for TCU
If
fans.
you followed on Twitter yesterday, John had himself a day.
Yes, he did. It started with his commute into Omaha, and it just went from there. A lot of accidents. Now, I've noticed that too. Coming back from the stadium,
He won't be taking I-80 today.
Yeah, he might be taking the alternate route that a lot of people, when they go to Lincoln on a Husker game day,
we do.
They like to go to Nebraska, or not Nebraska State.
Yes.
They like to go to the Nebraska crossing, the outlets area. You turn off there. No,
I know.
Jimmy, trust me. There's a reason. And we've talked about this in the crossover. It makes zero sense.
It's all bad.
When
now.
you are making your way to Lincoln on a Nebraska game day, for some reason, as you approach the outlets on I-80, it is like bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's a standstill. But then once you get past it, maybe, I don't know, quarter of a mile past the outlet exit, it opens up. I have no clue.
You remember what Vinny tells the guys when he visits them in prison at the beginning of My Cousin Vinny? You're getting
you're getting
one way or the other. Yeah, it's pretty much what it is on a game day.
That is. So you just got to figure out which way is maybe more scenic for you. What would be, while you're stuck, what's a little more scenic? But yeah, we thought, oh gosh, if this game goes extras, Johnny is, and I was in the booth with him the other day for that awesome slog of a game between TCU and Oral Roberts. And I mean, he's got a system, man. He's got the tea. He's got all kinds of like water supplements that you can add and make sure the voice is staying on point, which it has. Again, the coverage has been awesome. Those guys have been fantastic. So, of course, you wanted to see them have the day off. Our good friend Gary Sharp.
Which they will tomorrow.
They will. And Gary's taking the morning off today. So he will just have one game. And I don't know. Maybe I could text him later and see what he would prefer to have, a 1 o'clock game or a 6 o'clock game. I would think this allows him to sleep in, get your bearings, do maybe some things you wanted to do today, and then you head down to the ballpark late afternoon.
Hell, he could go play a round of golf. I mean,
yeah, you could. You absolutely could. I mean, if you have a 1 o'clock game, by the time that gets over, it's not a lot you can do other than evening plans. But yeah, if you want to get a round in, maybe, sure. 100% you could. Now, what's great about this matchup tonight is even though neither coach between LSU and Wake Forest would commit to this, either one of them would sort of show their hand, if you will. We could have an epic pitching matchup tonight.
That part's really exciting.
Right. Wake Forest Red Lauder, who is 15-0. And I don't need to tell you about Paul Skeens and how good he is, too. That you would have both of those guys on 4 days rest, and especially for LSU. But now that Wake Forest is in the exact same boat because it is win or go home for both of these teams, you're going to ride the guys, in this case, the guy that has gotten there. And Wake Forest is unblemished when Rhett Lauder is on the mound, when he's actually recorded and factored into the decision. And Paul Skeens, well, again, Saturday night we saw him on the big stage, and I think he's chomping at the bit to get back out there. So that's potentially the matchup tonight. You've got one game. It's a 6 o'clock game. Of course, you'll hear it right here on 1620 The Zone. We will have Omaha Baseball Village coverage beginning at 10 a.m. Our regular show lineup, they will have their normal Ooh, almost just choked up there. Got emotional.
Mornings with Jimmy.
Yeah.
They're just all going down.
Oh, this is just so emotional. But the Connor Happer show will be at 10 a.m. over at the Omaha Baseball Village. And then on Sportsmanlike Conduct will, I guess, be somewhat abbreviated. They will leave the airwaves 20 minutes prior to what they typically do till 5:40. So that's what we got for you today. And it's going to be awesome as far as that game tonight. Again, I'm thinking of our friends that are working around the clock on this thing. I would love to have seen a day off, but if you got to work.
Wait, you don't have anything today, right?
I don't. I'm
okay.
This is a travel day for me.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Making my way out. My brother-in-law is getting married in November, and we're doing a bachelor party in Chicago. So we are
cake and ice cream.
Yeah. Oh, nothing more. Nothing more. Getting in place tonight so I can do the show tomorrow morning at the hotel. And then as soon as we're off the air tomorrow, got a tea time about an hour or so later, and then let the fun begin. And then I'll
get the glitter in the face.
Yep.
What?
I've seen a preliminary itinerary. I did not see that on it yet, but you know how these things go. You know, sometimes it's just it's a spur of the moment type thing. The good thing is, I don't know if it's good or bad, probably good, is 44-year-old Nick Handley enjoying bachelor party with other, around my age
Take
friends.
Some Tylenol and Gatorade.
Yeah, it's not this. I was talking to this our friend over at the ticket, Jake Sorensen. Yeah, he's an awesome golfer. He stopped by the booth yesterday. We were talking a little bit, and yeah, we were discussing. It's amazing, what the 40-plus crowd, and that's not. I shouldn't even say every 40-plus crowd, because sometimes you just need to let loose, and that'll never leave you. But I get to a certain point of the evening now where I'm like, I can't go any longer.
But time to start hit the old dusty trail.
Anybody else? Like, would you start looking around and, everybody's been drinking all day and out in the sun or doing whatever, and then you just see like the
California, I might want to check that out.
You could have the most exciting thing happening like right in front of you or person right in front, and you're just like, man, it's 10:30 already. So, yeah, but so yeah, I'll be with you guys tomorrow morning live from Chicago at a Holiday Inn. So, but yeah, I was hoping that the guys would get a day off, like a full-fledged day off.
Hey, I called it one game today. That was right.
And
I called the teams that were going to win.
We both did. Really, the only thing that I think we were off on, and I can't remember if you said this too, but I really thought Florida would roll. And so I give a lot of credit to TCU.
I thought they'd win. I didn't think they would roll. I like TCU. I think they're a good team, and the game went exactly about what I thought it would. And I just thought they'd have more runs than TCU at the end of the game, but it wouldn't be like 20-3 or anything like that. So,
well, TCU
damn near tied it too.
They did at the very end there, but you know what, Jimmy, is admirable as their effort on the mound was and defensively. And, putting the fear of God into Florida, where they made that thing, again, exciting to the very last out. They had so many opportunities early on. Talk about some squandered chances by TCU. It was a game that I would assume Scarlos is probably looking at thinking, yeah, proud of the guys. And you have to be. I mean, you make it this far, you make it down to the Final Four in Omaha. You're obviously going to be proud of the team you bring in and what you accomplished. But when you just kind of look at it in the micro, the game itself, I'm sure Kirk Saarloos is saying, yeah, we had every opportunity to win that game, or at least go up early on Florida by maybe more than a couple of runs. But it's kind of been the theme that we've seen this sort of bit Oral Robertson, the keister as well. You get some guys on, and whether you want to credit some clutch pitching or just some non-competitive at-bats, unable to capitalize. I was talking to Josh about this yesterday too. We've seen a lot of these close games, and we've seen scores really stay in check. We have not seen a crooked number greater than 3 in an inning. And to me, that says a lot about what teams have been able to do from a defensive standpoint, whether it's on the mound, making the right move, getting the call to the bullpen, and a guy kind of putting out the flames, or just a guy that inherits something, gives up a hit, but then is able to limit the damage. I do give a lot of credit on the defensive side of this sort of element to the College World Series that we've seen, or trend in the College World Series that we've seen in 2023. But you also have to look at some of the at-bats when you have a chance. Like a 3 spot is always going to be helpful. Don't get me wrong. You'd rather have 3 than nothing. But having not seen sort of the blow-up inning, I think that's been kind of interesting to see, because as we saw last night, when we saw both games, the ball's still traveling. We saw early in this College World Series, there's still the long ball. I mean, that's a big part of this College World Series. But being able to minimize those opportunities offensively, that has also been a big trend in this College World Series. It's just been really good. Overall, more than anything, I mean, yesterday it looked like, Wake Forest gets up 2-0, and you're thinking, okay, could the route be on, given what LSU has in their bullpen? But as we talked about yesterday, Jimmy, and I was talking with Gary about this, you can almost sort of set your watch to it, whether it was Ackenhausen the night before or what we saw out of a freshman in Griffin Herring yesterday for LSU. You tend to see these moments where a little used person out of the bullpen, or someone who doesn't have starting experience, or someone that just is asked to come in and just stabilize the game. I use that word a lot, stabilize it. And all of a sudden you get way more out of somebody either in relief or in a spot start. And yesterday, the hero on the pitching staff for LSU was clearly Griffin Herring. The guy goes 4 2/3. He goes a career long out of the bullpen. I mean, you had to have that. You had to have that type of effort. I mean, we could talk about the Cade Beloso home run that was the big blow for LSU and against Wake Forest. But what Griffin Herring did, given where LSU's pitching staff currently was, and getting Cooper back in there too, like that, all of those things were huge. And these are the fun stories about the College World Series on the field, where you do get these sort of heroic efforts from little used guys. And LSU has now done it back-to-back days with what they got from the previous night in Ackenhausen, and then what you got last night with Herring. It's, so for LSU, now they've put their team in a position to where they can bring back Paul Skeens on basically regular rest, Major League Baseball rest, for 4 days, and see if he can pitch you into the championship series, which who would have thunk it? Because it is not easy to do after you fall into that elimination bracket. I don't care at what point you fall into the elimination bracket. Once you fall into there, usually by that moment you've spent some arms. So LSU and Wake Forest will go head-to-head at 6 o'clock tonight. Pre-game coverage begins at 5:40. Again, Omaha Baseball Village coverage begins at 10 a.m. with the Connor Happer Show. Then Unsportsmanlike Conduct will follow at 2 o'clock with Josh Peterson. I think I'd have to look. Do we know who's with Josh today?
I think he's with Shafe.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Mike Schaefer and Josh Peterson. So some good shows. We'll be live on location down there getting you set for what should be a fun night of baseball. Again, if we get the matchup that we think we will on the mound with Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens, this is going to be a great, great Thursday night baseball game. getting ready for the championship series that gets underway on
I mean,
Saturday.
KP was saying last night on TV. I mean, he had me excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, me personally, my mind is somewhere else tonight, but that's different. That's a whole different
so
conversation.
we do need to acknowledge that the big national story today is not the NFL, which I want to.
You say that now till something.
I know, and
outlandish
I want to
happens.
bring that up a little bit later on in the show, which it sort of dawned on me this morning. But you do have your Spurs shirt on, and you should, because I know when we have the NHL draft, I will also be sporting a Chicago Blackhawk shirt, because what is the commonality between Jimmy's basketball team and my hockey team is our teams will be choosing first in their respective drafts, and we've got generational talents that will be gracing those organizations with their presence. You've got an unbelievable hockey talent in Connor Bedard. And tonight, and you've already seen him, you saw him throw out a pretty awful first pitch, but he doesn't care. It's not his sport. But Victor Wembanyama, who is a large individual who is, again, being dubbed as a generational talent, that person that a lot of people look at and say, this could change a franchise like that. You've got the Spurs that will be taking Victor Wembanyama tonight. So after that, I don't even know if you really need to. I'm sure Spurs fans are going to be dialed in just because they want to see it, and you want to be able to say, all right, it's
hell
here.
yes, haven't done this in 26 years.
Yeah.
So,
but like,
we're going all out tonight. I have this shirt on, and the dog doesn't know it yet, and she doesn't have a choice in the matter, but she will be wearing her jersey, which is only reserved for playoff games, and there haven't been many of those the past few years. So
yeah.
So,
Is she happy about that? Or
No,
she doesn't even
she
know,
will be
does she?
pissed.
Yeah.
She does not like wearing her jersey. But as
I've never seen a dog that looks happy when they get dressed up.
Well, as I've explained to her, and I always say, we all must make sacrifices for the betterment of the team.
Do you get a usually positive feedback from her on that?
No, just a glare.
A glare.
So I have to do some extra tummy rubbing to get back in her good graces. But that was the thing, and back in the day when they used to win a lot, that was sort of the deal. She had to wear a jersey for every playoff game, and when you win a championship, I'm like, I'm sorry, you need to hope for a quick series, and then it'll be over.
It's exciting though. I'm excited for you because I know how I'll feel when
I'm excited for me too.
That's cool when you get not just the first pick, but
#blessed.
It's that type of talent. That's the thing.
I know they sure picked the right year to suck.
Right.
There's no Michael Olowokandi in the as the top pick of the draft.
Well, and we think of all the luck that's involved when you have a lottery system.
Kwame Brown.
We could get into the Kwame Brown. There's different lotteries, especially if you ever watched the Sports Dome from our friends at the Onion a while back. That was one of the greatest lottery picks ever.
That's why I say it.
Oh, I loved it. But you could have that first round pick any other year, and it could be a crapshoot of some really good college players, but you just don't know how they're going to project. And I don't want to sit here and say, hey, Victor Wembanyama will be exactly what everybody's saying. But when you watch him,
nervous.
It's hard not to think of this not projecting.
I just want dude to stay healthy.
Exactly.
I always worry.
And it's the exact same way I feel about Connor Bedard. Like, I know Chicago is going to take him. Anybody who's watching the NHL draft will know how that first pick is going to go, just like tonight in the NBA draft. And yet, for the fans especially, it's not. I don't even think there's drama behind it. It's like, oh, is there a chance they wouldn't? No, it's none of that. It's just being able to sort of soak that every bit of that in and say, person, look how happy they are. They're happy to be on my team that
Pants
I
are
root
coming
for.
off.
Yep. It's a no pants Thursday in the Chavez household. And I don't want to know how you guys celebrate afterwards. That's your business. That is none of my business
Well,
at all.
I'll tell you what we're not doing because we finished it last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so.
All right. So you are.
Nothing dirty there.
You are caught up with America on
I am
Yellowstone.
now with you and Gary. That's right.
Okay. That's how I felt.
We're on the same, and Sip, we're all on the same page.
Oh,
I feel like I have a seat at the table now.
You do. And so you can, once they resume, we can have our watch parties now.
Yeah,
Finally.
we can actually discuss it and have a big Yellowstone react.
Well, that's how I was with Succession. I was in the race against time because we're going into Memorial Day weekend. And I knew that it was that Sunday was the finale. So we had to
next.
We had to stay up just a little bit later than I was comfortable with to finish that series before the series finale. But
yeah, summertime's when we
good.
start obliterating the TV shows that we've needed to watch before football season.
That's what it is. We do have a great show for you today, and we are loaded up. And when I say loaded up, we are exactly that. We're going to be talking some Husker recruiting at 7:30. Greg Smith of the Rivals Network will be joining us at 7:30. Also going to be talking with Sarah Baker Hansen. She's back. Want to get her thoughts on the old taste of Omaha, especially if you're one of our friends from LSU, Wake Forest, Florida, the three teams remaining, and you are still looking for maybe some gems around Omaha. We'll talk with Sarah Baker Hansen about that and much more. Steve Sipple joins us at 8:30. You mentioned Kyle Peterson. He will jump on the show at 9 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on what could just be an absolutely great pitching matchup and winner-take-all moment between Wake Forest and LSU.
Perfect day to get KP on.
Yeah, we really did. Because the
not
guy
planned that way.
He knows a thing or two about pitching as well. He knows he used to do that to an extent, so he knows. And then we will get you some good plays for the week and for the weekend with our buddy Brian Edwards. And of course, our guests and the lineup is always powered by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. You can also get in touch with us on the Equitable Bank inbox. Email the show. I am Handley at 1620thezone.com. He is Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. And also, you can hit us up on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed on Twitter at Nick Handley 1620. And as always, you can jump in on the 42 Degrees hotline, The Source, by your mom's house, and that is 402-951-1620. Speaking of which, let's do that right away. Go to Josh in Omaha. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Nick. Good morning, Jimmy. Nick, I got an in-depth baseball question for you.
Okay. That's 6:30, so let's be careful.
Well, I've been thinking about it for years, so here, I'll just spit it out, and then I'll let you address it. Have you
All
ever
to
noticed
this morning.
In major leagues or in college or even in little league, right-handed hitters seemingly don't really have any real difficulties hitting right-handed pitchers, but when it comes to the opposite, when it's a left-handed pitcher versus a left-handed hitter, it's like an act of God to get contact on the ball. Why is it? I mean, the strike zone's still the same, right?
Right.
So have you ever noticed that? And you can point to any MLB pitcher. You know, batting average against is 289 for right, but as soon as you get to the left, it's like 121. And the same thing for left-handed hitters. You know, they're hitting 360 against right, and then against left, they're 75. But yeah, I'm going to hang up and let you address that. Thanks, Nick.
Josh, appreciate the question. You know what I would
question.
Immediately comes to mind is I think of arm slot, because when I think of predominantly overhand throwers, when we're talking about arm slots, I think of that coming more from the right side. And and this was just me growing up, I always felt that was easier to pick up. And I also felt like when we're talking about spin with breaking balls, that was maybe a little bit easier to detect the trajectory, the depth of that ball. Lefties, it's rare when you see a completely overhand delivery. Now, Clayton Kershaw, I think, would be an exception to that rule, where he is, I mean, with the body motion and gyration, that is maybe a little bit of deception before the ball actually leaves his hand. But when I typically see lefties, there's a little bit more of that arm slot that's unique, a little bit more 3/4, probably predominantly 3/4, that I think if you kind of put yourself in that position where you're talking about eye level in the batter's box as a left-handed hitter, and you're picking that up from more of a side-ish angle as opposed to an over-the-top angle. And the way, then this is the other thing too, lefties, fastballs, this has always been a thing. And if you don't have this is why probably lefties, the lefties that don't get drafted, this is probably one of them. When you're going to have that natural tail on the fastball, that when you have that, that's running in on the left-handed hitters. So that's where, because, and you can talk to any lefty that has played baseball at a higher level. And when I say higher level, at the very least, it played some college baseball. Even if they don't have the velo, they're usually going to have some movement on that fastball. It's just that natural tail off a fastball that a lefty has that a righty, for the most part, doesn't, unless you're coming with spot action, a little two-seam action. However, you're trying to create some movement with that fastball. But I want to say that those two things immediately come to mind and why it makes it difficult is because of that tail with the fastball that's going to kind of run in on left-handed hitters' hands, as opposed to when you got a righty, you're not getting as much of that kind of tail that would be coming back in on a right-handed hitter. That's just, and Jimmy, you watch baseball a lot too. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but just initially, that's kind of what comes to mind. I'm thinking of arm slots from lefties that usually seem to be predominantly a little bit more three-quarters, but also that tail with the fastball that's going to run in on the hands of a left-handed hitter.
I like when you get technical like that. That's why when he called, I was like, he asked if he could ask that question, and I was like, I think you'll like that question.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question, and the fact is that he brings up Little League and high school. From a Little League standpoint, I don't know if I would say it's as challenging because, again, the arm for your, average 12, 13, 14-year-old is not developed to the point that you're probably putting enough force to where you're able to generate a little bit of that movement with the fastball as a lefty. And there are obviously exceptions to that. There are just some gifted young early teenagers that have that going for them. And those are kids that are probably making varsity as a freshman. But once you start getting into high school, once you start getting into development, whether it's through your high school baseball program or you're, getting lessons and you start kind of learning a little bit more of the mechanics of how to throw a baseball effectively and how to pound a strike zone and how to move pitches around the strike zone as you begin to develop, that's where you start developing a little bit more of that arm action as a lefty, and that's where you start getting that movement. But it is a very good question. Really appreciate that. As I mentioned, we got a lot to talk about today.
I got you going.
It did. It got me fired up. I do. I'm a baseball technical sicko. And
well, yeah, people that don't know, I mean, you coached it, so it's like yeah.
Those are questions though you don't really get every day. You're like, you know what? It is kind of challenging. Why is that? Just to make you think, okay, why is that? And that's what I would come up with there. But as we talked about Kyle Peterson, who's going to join the show too, I'm curious on his thoughts when it does come to, he mentioned in one of the broadcasts, I think it was on Tuesday night, as LSU was battling and trying to stay alive, where they were, the Paul Skeens conversation got brought up. He knew they weren't going to see Paul Skeens that night, and it seemed like it was a long shot that you're going to see him last night in any type of role unless they were absolutely desperate. But he brought up that Paul Skeens would be on MLB rest, which is 4 days, which is, as you know, if you're a pitcher in Major League Baseball, it typically comes back around a lot quicker than what you're used to in college. Because think about college baseball players. They are throwing on Friday nights, and then they're throwing the following Friday. So you're getting a full week's rest. When you're maybe not used to that throughout the entire season, does that make Skeens, just given the way that he is built, and Rhett Lauder's a big guy too, does that make those pitchers who are used to more of a 6 or 7 day type rest, just bumping it up a couple of days like that, does it make it a little more challenging giving their make? Because I would think, obviously the answer is, sure, it's an adjustment, but then I want to factor in their size because those are big guys. And I would think bigger,
meaning they might
like
not
that,
go as deep into the game
right?
As they, so yes, they're starting, but you're not going to get them for more than 5 innings.
Exactly. The conditioning of it, I'll be curious to know. But there's a lot to attack on tonight's matchup. We'll do so as, again, Kyle comes your way at 9. A lot of recruiting happening. And again, another big weekend of visitors that we will get the latest on from Greg Smith. So I do want to jump into the basketball conversation. The NBA draft is tonight. We also have another trade that is going down, as we typically see on days or the day.
Woj bombs have started early.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. It is draft day, if you didn't notice. But I want to get, again, this is an opportunity. I want to get Jimmy to just bask in to what Victor Wembanyama could ultimately mean and where Spurs fans are right now when it comes
means
to,
we won't suck anymore.
I
There's
totally,
your expert analysis.
I totally agree with that too. I think the juice is most definitely worth the squeeze here. A lot of that coming your way. We've got a lot of Husker football talking about. There was a conversation Josh Peterson and I got into yesterday about the Omaha World Herald, their ranking, and Lincoln Journal-Star. They're collaborating to make
on the air or
their
off the
top
air?
50. We did a little bit of both.
Okay.
On this one too. On one of the particular players that is on inside the top 50 of Nebraska players to watch, to know. And it was very telling, and we'll get back into that as well. We're getting things kicked off. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
Shop the best deals of the summer now at Lowe's. Freshen up your home inside and out with buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Plus, save big on select patio furniture and accessories with up to 50% off. Lowe's knows July 4th savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 6/28. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowes.com/rebates for details.
PACE, Police Athletics for Community Engagement Organization, is dedicated to preventing at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children from becoming involved in street gangs, crime, drug use, and victimization. PACE provides an opportunity to develop discipline, self-esteem, and positive moral values through wholesome competition and free participation in soccer, baseball, CrossFit, and flag football. To help PACE and local families make sure kids have access to safe and fun spring and summer activities, please go to paceomaha.org to support the PACE mission. Thank you.
Hey folks, is your concrete in need of repair? Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts and a Best of Omaha winner, Everlevel Concrete Repair. They can completely restore and repair your concrete at a fraction of the price compared to replacement and offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. There's a reason they're a Best of Omaha winner. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
It's good to be able to make a change, to never feel stuck. That's why at Cox, we're making a change too. Now Cox internet plans are flexible, so you can choose to just go with internet, add TV tomorrow, or home automation down the line. It's easier than ever to get just what you want and nothing you don't. Flexible plans from Cox. Change anytime. No commitments, no penalties. See for yourself at cox.com/internet. Additional services can be added at then current regular rates. All services subject to residential customer service agreement and acceptable use policy. Restrictions apply.
Howdy, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Hey, how about some interesting nature facts to get you outdoors? Did you know that Nebraska has more than 70 state parklands, more than 100 species of fish, more than 400 species of birds, and more than 1,500 species of native plants? We do. You need more numbers? Go online to the Game and Parks website, outdoornebraska.gov. Question for you. Planning to be on the water this season? Great. But remember, wear your life jacket. Keep in mind that most people who drown in boating accidents are not wearing theirs. It's like I tell folks all the time, life jackets, they float, you don't on the water, so why wouldn't you be wearing yours? Please think about that and be safe. I'm Greg Wagner with the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
I know Connor and Josh talked about this yesterday on the show, Jimmy. And
you talked about everything but Craig Bohl's quote.
Yeah, and they still want to know. They still haven't gotten the
I
Craig
could
Bohl
Google
quote.
it, but I don't want to. I want to hear it from them.
I feel like it's theirs to tell because they've been teasing this now for 2 days.
But I'm never going to hear it now because unless Connor brings it up with Josh.
Yeah, they might because I'm assuming they'll kind of have a crossover-ish type of scenario out there since they'll.
Well, I'd just be happy if Connor and Josh just lead off with it.
Well, the story that they were talking about, and I was very grateful that Josh and I had a chance to also talk about it because I know you heard the story because you were in here producing the Stephen F. Austin bowling.
Yeah, that was
my gosh. That is, if you don't know the story, again,
that's how they came out swinging.
And it was worth doing
somewhat intended.
It was definitely worth doing so. It's one of those stories that I'm not going to get right back into it because, again, Connor and Josh talked about it, and then Josh and I had a chance to talk about this too. But if you want an example of somebody getting their hand caught in the cookie jar, if you will, of a coach doing a no-no when it comes to ethics and having an affair with a student athlete. That's not even the biggest story of this actual story or the biggest surprise of this story. It's the fact that the person, the assistant coach in this matter, who's married to the head coach is the female, the assistant coach is the male, and the male had a affair with one of the members of the women's bowling team at Stephen F. Austin, which, by the way, is a pretty good bowling program. I learned that yesterday as well.
Evidently.
What he had to say, the fact that he fully commented on this story to begin with, but what he had to say is worth a read today, if you can.
It's in the Lufkin paper. Is that what
Yep.
they said?
Yep, it's in the Lufkin, the Lufkin rag. That's not what it's called, but
Lufkin Times.
it is
Lufkin Post. Oh, Google it.
It was unreal what this coach, who is no longer coaching there, had to say about the entire situation. We're happy when you're with us a Thursday morning of more college baseball today. Oh, I mean, if he would have said that, I would have not like accepted it, but I would have been like, oh, okay, that's what he thinks.
Somewhat local tie, kind of.
Yeah. Well, is that immediately where you went to when you heard this? You're like, oh.
We talking about the same movie?
No, I'm talking about an incident with Nebraska women's basketball. But
no. That's
something
thinking of the movie Election.
Something that happened a while back.
Which is based in
Oh,
Omaha.
yes. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're
With
getting.
Reese?
Yeah, I see what you're getting at.
Witherspoon? Yeah. But it's
your buddy's in that.
Yeah, Chris Klein, fellow classmate. I don't know if you consider yourself a friend still with somebody, I would think we would have to have had contact in the last 10 years. I haven't talked to Chris Klein since my buddy Jeff got married in this would have been when Chris Klein was still engaged to Katie Holmes. That was the last time I actually talked to Chris.
A little bit ago.
But we were friendly. I mean, we from basically the end of middle school to high school, we palled around enough. We played sports together. So yeah, I would say old friend.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like, my good friend, because a good friend means we've been in contact here at least within the last month or so.
That's true. That's a conversation we could get into later. It's like, when do you, in your friend category, you have good friends, great friends, best friends, whatever. I mean, we can adjust the rules during one of the longer breaks. When does a friend get downgraded to old friend or gets downgraded to acquaintance?
Or you can sort of really...
And are there set rules? Because some friends
you can blurry it up by just saying my longtime friend.
Yeah, you could not see someone in 5 or 10 years, and then you see each other, and it's like nothing.
Yeah,
changed.
You pick up from where you left off.
And then some you cannot see in 5 or 10 years, and it's done. The ship has sailed.
Yeah,
the ship's sunk. Rocco,
you're being reacquainted. You're getting to know each other again, and it's weird. You can't carry a conversation past the "What have you been up to lately?" After that, it's
big gulps, eh?
I got to think of a memory real quickly and say, oh,
remember that time?
Oh, we did that. Hey, let's do some shots.
Yeah, that'll loosen things up.
Yeah, I would say an old friend. I would call Chris Klein an old friend. But I couldn't even tell you what he's doing right now. Actually, I think that last time I saw him in person was at wedding. Last time I saw him on TV, my wife and I somehow stumbled upon I think it was a Hallmark movie or something. Or it's one of those movies where there's a scandal.
Oh, so it wasn't like the Christmas movies.
Yeah, so it wasn't maybe Hallmark.
Because that's from my mind.
Yeah, maybe Hallmark is the wrong way, but
maybe you meant Lifetime.
Yes, Lifetime. There you go. That's what I meant. It was a Lifetime movie. Thank you.
Unless Hallmark is now in the heartwarming
Hallmark
scandal.
Is not in the scandal. I don't think it's a Lifetime movie.
A heartwarming tale about domestic violence.
It was it was
The Burning Bed 2.
It was like this. There was a couple that moved in, and it was actually a father and his daughter. The mother was nowhere to be found, and the daughter was she was ahead of her time, and she was in high school, but she was into older men.
Oh, so it's like Lolita.
Yes, and she was trying to move in on Chris Klein's character and trying to seduce him.
Or The Crush, that was another one.
It's kind of like The Crush, yeah. And as he
introduced us to Alicia Silverstone.
attempts, she gets jealous and tries to throw a wedge in his marriage. And oh my gosh, it is scandal.
Rated PG.
Yes.
What?
And that's like, well, then I'm not going to watch that.
No.
Then. So yeah, that was the last Chris Klein movie I saw, or at least saw him in. It was exactly what you thought it would be. So anyway, I digress.
Anyway, but yes, that bowling story is kind of where it started,
really,
which is also, that could be a Lifetime movie in itself.
I told Josh yesterday there needs to be an E60. I don't think there was enough there to make a 30 for 30, but there at least needs to be an E60 on that. We need at least a solid.
What if I told you that a 7-10 split meant something else?
Well, did you hear the headline of it? It's spare relationship. Okay. You know what? I gotta do it justice. Hold on a sec here. Let's because the headline is as good as you're gonna see. And that also there's so much of this story that
Market 7, Donnie.
You can't really believe it. Like you're thinking, okay, this, especially when the assistant coach is quoted.
So the dude that did it was quoted.
Yes. The coach himself. You just can't believe it. You're like, okay, this is obviously a story from The Onion. Because this can't be real. Let's see, where is this? I got to get the headline. Oh, there it is. Spare relationship causes awkward split.
Nice.
From the Lufkin Daily News.
Whoever wrote that headline's going places.
Yeah. Oh, that was outstanding. Spare relationship causes awkward split.
One of the articles.
It's a bowling affair.
The Stephen F. Austin bowling affair is bad. The quotes are worse.
They are. If you just Google, I literally just Googled bowling coach Stephen Austin, and here's what you get. And yep, you get spare relationship causes awkward split. Maybe it could be a 2020 on ABC. They might be able to do it. Again, no one, and thank goodness, there were no lives lost, because usually in those 2020s, that's what's taken place. So there were no lives lost. But just get this Steve Lemke in front of a camera and just let him talk. And this guy is, he is just off the island. I don't know what. I don't know where his head is. Well, I think I do. I think we all do. I don't know where his thought process is, but he's got an opinion of what happened. And again, it was talked about enough yesterday. But if you don't know what we're talking about, give it a look-see.
Yeah. And give it a listen-see, because it's on the replay pages of all the programs.
It is. And it was a lot of fun discussing that. You just like those things. Yeah, maybe we talked about it. So the NBA will own tonight. NBA is got their big draft. I'm not a huge NBA draft fan from start to finish, because we know in the day and age of drafts, especially in the bigger sports that get attention and they're a little more prime time, and like NBA, but NFL is obviously king. There's so many of those picks that are leaked before they actually are announced by Commissioner Silver. And so it's just like, okay, whatever. And tonight there's going to be very little drama when it comes to the overall number one pick, because we know that's going to be Victor Wembanyama. After that, okay, sure, there could be some differing views when it comes to who might go where. I think a lot of people would look at probably your top 10 and all agree that, yeah, these are guys now that fall in the pecking order. Maybe there's, like a Scoot Henderson, a guy that we've talked about both watching KU basketball, and Grady Dick, where, does he potentially fall out of the top 10, or is he still a top 10 guy? There's a little bit of that. And so if you're into that, hoop heads will totally be into that. Brandon Miller, I think a lot of people feel is definitely going to go second. And then, Portland with the future of Dame, is Scoot Henderson, is that a guy that all of a sudden Dame Lillard saying, oh, hey, well, I want to stay now? I don't know. It's all about Victor Wembanyama tonight. And that's great. I think it's going to be very good for the NBA too.
Talked about for years.
It has
really looked like he was going to become what he became.
And now you have that becoming the reality officially tonight. And that's going to be good for the NBA. So when I was thinking about this coming into work this morning, is, the NFL's been awfully quiet. And I got to think about this, Jimmy. Does the NFL just sort of concede May and June? Unless there is a scandal or there's something that pops up. Maybe there is all of a sudden a trade that comes out of nowhere. But as far as organized, structured things that we know, events that are taking place each month, I think
you say the NFL concedes.
I think they concede May and June. I think they're just like, you know what? We've got playoffs going on with the NHL and the NBA.
I don't think so. I think they just kind of go into cruise control.
Well, and you got OTAs
because let's
going
be
on.
honest, the NFL, the fact that OTAs are covered the way they are now.
Yeah.
I remember. So I was in college. This was about 20 years ago, and I was interning at one of the TV stations in Kansas City, and they sent us to Chiefs OTAs. There were a couple of photogs there, but it wasn't like a big old deal.
Right.
Now, granted, the Chiefs weren't what they were now, but it was still
you're not doing
the
live
NFL.
You're not doing live shows.
It was still
SportsCenter's not doing live hits there.
Go get some B-roll.
Yeah.
Go get we might do a VOSOT on it, and there's a package maybe if there's nothing going on or whatever Dick Vermeil said, and so you'd get some sound from him, maybe a player or two, but it wasn't as big a deal. But with the advent of the NFL Network around the same time, obviously they need content,
right.
so that and people watch, so it became more of a deal. Today, it is covered. Like you hear about OTAs. When I walk in this morning and I hear the national show, they're talking about teams in the NFC, and I'm thinking, it's June 22nd.
There's a lot of Cowboys
who
talk
cares
today.
right now?
Yeah.
And besides, Tom, first of all, I think I can't remember which one of the dudes were saying Cowboy fans may want to dial back expectations. As a Cowboy fan, I will tell you, any true Cowboy fan that is realistic will know there are no expectations because they always. I know it's 17 games now, but I used to always say 8-8 forever. And even if they get in the playoffs, they will have some sort of ridiculous ending like last year where Zeke Elliott gets blown up on the last play of some stupid play that they designed, that's like the annexation of Puerto Rico. And
Little Giants.
Except that play worked.
It did.
I should hire that little kid who's grown up now. But anyway, but I get it because I was once taught when I did the network radio stuff, NFL is always king. When in doubt, talk about the NFL. And so I get it. So you're asking about if it concedes it. No, I just think it goes on cruise control. But if something were to happen, like a big story, then immediately the NFL will jump everything else going on in the sporting cycle.
You're not wrong there.
But this is the time for other things to kind of sit back and enjoy. Like you have the draft, and the best part about the NBA draft as opposed to the NFL draft, which is a whole different animal, especially now, but it was even before that. It's a one-night deal. It's 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. So you can sit back and enjoy it if you're a hoop head. And I've always been an NBA guy. I grew up with it. I'm one of the few people that prefers the NBA to the college game. I mean, that's even despite where I worked and went to school. It's just I went to a lot more NBA games. And so, but you enjoy the draft that one night. You enjoy the 3.5 hours, and then it's done. And then you sit back, enjoy a little free agency when that chaos starts here in a couple weeks. The other things going on, obviously now this is biased because I always liked it, but you have the College World Series going on. Mm-hmm. So you have other things to kind of tie you in. And then where you really get into that lull is right after the All-Star game.
Yep.
In baseball.
And then you got guys
July,
reporting to training camp.
From a sports standpoint, July sucks. However, at the end, we start turning the cycle. You get your media days, you get your training camps, and then you're off and running.
Right.
But you're asking, the original question is, does it concede those couple of months? I wouldn't say entirely. I just think they kind of, all right, we got the draft. We had fun, big stuff. Let's put it in cruise control. Let's enjoy the time. But the NFL just kind of keeps humming.
I think they're okay with that.
It's not as forgotten as when we were younger, and it would get forgotten until, hey, training camp's starting.
Well, and the reason I say concede is because I think they understand that, okay, if something, major develops out of OTAs
we have more crap with Aaron Rodgers than
right.
Than that.
And unfortunately, a lot of those things that develop out of OTAs that would be major news would be an injury. And that typically, and you're right about this, and this is just a product of the NFL being king, is anything that is at least somewhat major, doesn't even have to be like a season-ending injury, but something that is an interesting development, that is always going to probably take the priority of everything. But the reason I say concede is I don't think the NFL feels like in their calendar of events and things that they do to get eyeballs back on them. I don't think they feel like, we need to make sure May we do this so we get people back in other than OTAs, or in June they
Another
say,
way of saying
we
it
need to get this going so people will be talking about us again. I think they're okay owning 10 out of the 12 months, because they do. I mean, you can look at every other month starting with July with training camp, because then you do from a mainstream media. Exactly. Mainstream media, you've got live shows going on there. I'm talking national shows. I'm not talking about just, local, television coverage. And then you get into August, that's still going on. You're getting closer to the season. Once the season starts, we know how that goes. That
in
goes
my
into
mind,
February.
once it's August, we're back.
Yep.
We're off and running.
Absolutely. And
including at the college level, especially being here.
Yeah. I mean, even a coach, having gas is going to get reported. It's going to be top story, so that's just where the NFL is. But I think they're okay with, May and June just sort of being in the background a little bit. They're okay with that because, again, you have playoffs going on with the NBA. You've got playoffs going on with the NHL, and they've got OTAs going on. So whoever wants to cover it, anything that comes out of it, they understand they'll get those headlines, but they're not trying to forcefully put anything into those months where people are going to be like, hey, we got to make sure we are 12 months a year. No off months at all. I think they're okay with that.
To your point, the way I see it, and this is kind of what validates what you're saying, the other sports do not have to alter their schedules for you. So I guess that would say how, I can see, because other sports have now altered their schedule slightly to accommodate the NFL draft. You don't have, so you have the playoffs going on at that time, but you won't have a loaded slate of games with night one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you will Friday and Saturday a little more because it's different. But on Thursday night, now that the draft takes over that Thursday night, you're not going to have 3 NBA playoff games that night. You'll have one, but it'll be like on an ESPN2, or maybe TNT might have a game that night, because they know a lot of eyeballs are going to be on the draft because it's been such a big animal. So I see May and June. Okay, that's fair. But I will say the thing about the NFL is, yes, they are just one story away from.
And they know that. That's why I think they're like, hey, we're good, because
this is why they're taking over Black Friday.
Yeah.
And this is why we may one day have games every day of the week. Well, that's not fair. Well, why are you doing that? And we've said it on this show before, because they can. And they know they can.
Exactly. We're going to jump into hour number 2, talking some Nebraska football. We're also going to be talking some recruiting. Greg Smith of the Rivals Network, covering Nebraska football, has been doing it for a very long time. A big weekend for Nebraska. Getting some thoughts on some local guys as well. Sarah Baker Hansen at 8 o'clock. Steve Sipple, 8:30. We've got Kyle Peterson at 9, and we'll be talking with Brian Edwards at 9:45. We are loaded on this Thursday. Glad you're with us. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from 39th to 28th along L Street. Then on Center, be prepared for a little bit of a delay from 175th to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call 402-810-0789 or visit IBEW22.org today.
Twisted Thunder Fireworks is going to save you big money. You'll find the best variety and the lowest prices in the entire state of Nebraska. Don't believe us? See page after page of products and pricing online at twistedthunder.com, where you can watch everything before you buy and choose local pickups so it's ready to go for you at the tent. Go to twistedthunder.com to check out all of our locations in Nebraska and the newest location in Council Bluffs. That's twistedthunder.com.
Those of you who've enjoyed the cigar lifestyle for any length of time are keenly aware of the enviable reputation of Rocky Patel. Impeccable flavors and aromas, flawless construction. So allow me to ask, how would you like to attend a Rocky Patel event at Hearth Cigars on Friday evening, June 30th from 6 to 9? There's plenty of free food, live music featuring the Dive Kings, and of course specials, on Rocky Patel's. Talk about a perfect start for a long Independence Day weekend. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, I-680 and Mormon Bridge Road.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice. But wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. You've got support. You can't control the chaos, but you can chart your way through it. Steady yourself. Take a breath. You're not alone. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked or uneven concrete, Everlevel can do it all with their complete repair solutions. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, and protect the surface, all at a fraction of the price compared to replacement. And better yet, they offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620, The Zone.
Now, do we know if this tune has been busted out on the organ at the College World Series this week?
I think that about every song now.
I think Benedek has been, again,
I don't know where
open.
I heard it. I heard Poker Face, maybe in one of the stations here yesterday. I thought, picture that on the organ.
Yeah, the last 3 days, just driving in. Sometimes I'm listening to some podcasts. Other times I'm just listening to music. And I've noticed every tune that I've heard in the last 3 days in my car, I wonder if that could be played on the organ. Is that something
Heard
that...
Seek and Destroy the other day on the radio on the drive home, and I pictured that on the organ.
Yeah, can we get some serious rock going in with the new modern organ and organist now here at the College World Series? Because John Benedek is, and you heard him here on the show
Baby
yesterday.
Got Back. That would be good.
Oh, see, well, we came into that segment yesterday, if you remember, with Salt and Pepper Push It.
Yeah.
And I was curious if he could bust out Salt and Pepper Push It on the organ. Because I feel like John Benedek, if he hasn't done it yet, he's willing to give it a try. Because as he said yesterday, that the guys in the production booth there at Charles Schwab Field, and a lot of those guys I know, they're music people too. The Manley brothers, Brian and Phil, are my good friends, and one of them is a drum tech for 311. I wonder if there was any request for some 311 that John Benedek was able to bust out.
Maybe if you have a bases loaded jam and it starts to fall apart, you can get a little Beautiful Disaster.
Yeah. Oh, that would be awesome.
Or if you have a bad call, you could get all mixed up.
That would be sick.
Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. For the College World Series, I feel like this is why it just keeps winning in Omaha. And to Gary's point a couple of days ago, or maybe it was last week, we talked about how anybody could do this better than Omaha with what we already have sort of built in with the years and decades really of tradition here. He's right, because you would be playing catch up to so much and trying to create things. And a lot of these things over time, they were built organically. And there's no pun intended, because now you add in these new subtle improvements to the College World Series And this year, having John Benedek and having the presence
He's
of
the MOP
Oregon,
of the World Series.
I agree. I absolutely
Schemes
agree.
could go through a perfect game tonight, and then this weekend, and it's still John Benedict.
And then whatever John Benedek would play after that perfect game would still, in my opinion, be even cooler.
Simply the best. I don't know.
This is why the College World Series, regardless of the games on the field, and this year they've delivered. They really have been fantastic, and we get hopefully another great one tonight, which could be an epic pitching matchup tonight between Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens, LSU Wake Forest. But this is why the atmosphere is something that people continue to come back for. And even if you have years where games have been either lopsided or it's just been maybe kind of sloppy baseball because you are at sort of the end of the year, and that can happen from time to time, people are quick to forget about that. They'll remember the time that they had. They'll remember the experience that they had. And seldom do we remember.
He can play Time of Your Life on the organ.
Yeah, there you go. And baby can do the lift. He's Patrick Swayze. So if you had a chance to listen to our abbreviated in-between games show yesterday at the Omaha Baseball Village, Josh Peterson and I were talking a little Nebraska roster, and everybody is doing, whether it's the 50 most indispensable players or the players to watch or this type of category of players or what have you. Everybody's kind of got their list. They're going to kind of run down the roster, and they're going to tell you about certain players, their significance, and the overall maybe outlook or forecast for said player. So the Omaha World Herald and Lincoln Journal-Star collaborating to do their Husker Camp countdowns, and they are ranking the top 50 players on the roster right now, or based on their significance. Basically, the way that they describe it is it's the top Nebraska football players you need to know heading into the season. And for example, today, number 48 is Deshaun Singleton, which I would say, yeah, there's a guy that plays safety. There's a guy that could have even a bigger contribution this season, but that's not where I wanted to go. Yesterday, Josh and I got into the conversation, and I want to, for the record, say that I don't necessarily disagree with this player being at number 49 or being amongst the top 50 players you need to know heading into the season. But number 49 they had was Chubba Purdy. And for me, Jimmy, Chubba is someone, the way that I could best describe it is someone whose future with this particular staff and this particular offense is in limbo, kind of stuck in the mud. And I know that probably has sort of a negative connotation, but we know this about Nebraska going into the fall. The starting quarterback is Jeff Sims. Based on what we heard during spring, the narrative, the most talked about quarterback, and even to some extent, Jimmy, the most talked about quarterback, even more so than Jeff Sims, was Heinrich Harburg. Then there towards the end, you started hearing a little bit about Chubba Purdy, his athleticism, his speed, amongst one of the fastest players on the team. And some conversations we heard he was the fastest player on the team. Chubba also, out of that quarterback room, represents the most experience as a Power 5/Husker quarterback that you've seen. I should say a Husker quarterback, because Jeff Sims obviously has a little bit too. But a guy that's wore the uniform that brings back the most playing time for Nebraska. We watched all three quarterbacks compete in the spring to what we were allowed to see. And obviously we weren't there because those practices were going on while we were on the air. But then we also saw the spring game. You can see why people are excited about Jeff Sims. I mean, you just look at him. He's a big guy. He can move. He looks strong. The arm, I think, is there. The accuracy is something they're continuing to develop. There's a lot to, I think, to be somewhat excited about when it comes to Jeff Sims and what he could potentially do if he continues to stay on the path that we think he is. Outside of that, I would be led to believe that Heinrich Harburg is your backup quarterback, at least given what it seems like Marcus Satterfield wants to do in this first year of the offense, and that is sort of value a quarterback that's got a little bit of the dual threat mentality. But that other part, when we talk about dual, and what Chuba Purdy has as well, he can move his feet, but throwing the ball accurately, again, going back to the conversations that the coaching staff on the offensive side had anytime they were asked about Heinrich Haarberg, talked about his passing improvement, his accuracy improvement. Those were things that were kind of making him stand out on top of his athleticism and ability to run the football. Chuba Purdy, who we know is athletic, and I brought this up to Josh yesterday, when I saw Chuba using his athleticism, it was usually in a panicky situation. Like he was trying to get out of, again, some offensive line breakdowns or protection breakdowns, but he was also usually moving backwards and not at least laterally or forward. It was kind of erratic play. The accuracy issues were very much evident last year. And it was a small-ish sample size for Chuba Purdy, but I think there was enough there to where you're at least looking at Chuba right now and saying, boy, there's still a lot of work to be done. So when I think of the top 50 Nebraska football players that you need to know heading into the season, and you have a guy like Chuba Purdy that is considered inside the top 50, what does that say about this roster? And
says they'll have to do some recruiting.
Exactly. Well, and it also,
and they will.
And it also said, I think it also really underscores the lack of experience that this roster collectively has with one another and in the position that they're playing. Because I do think Chuba Purdy is a very interesting player for this current team, especially if there is going to be high value in having a quarterback that is athletic, that, yes, can throw, can hopefully be above 63% completion percentage, but a guy
just
that
built for the game.
But a guy that's also going to expose his body. And since Adrian Martinez has been the quarterback at Nebraska, we have seen the backup and sometimes the third-string quarterback having to be used. We saw Logan Smothers. We saw Chuba Purdy, Casey Thompson, Adrian, McCaffrey. I mean, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that had to play, and the majority of those reasons because of injury. So it also, like, there's a lot of, and you watched the spring game too. I didn't see.
I did. It was cold.
It was cold that day. I did not see anything from Heinrich nor Chuba where I was like, and again, that's one practice out of 15, one scrimmage out of 15. But I didn't see anything from either one of those guys saying, you know what, if Casey leaves, Nebraska's going to be just fine when it comes to the depth behind Jeff Sims. Then it was shortly after Casey left, and you're thinking, I think it's Heinrich Haarberg, but I don't know.
Quarterback that throws like Edward Scissorhands when we're playing a hell of a lot of defense.
He got Popkey back there. So to me, it was just very telling. Again, I don't disagree with him being at 49. It's just very telling of where this roster is when it comes to its overall experience and what we can ultimately expect and what is a very key position right there behind Jeff Sims.
I think this first season especially, I mean, it's a formula anytime, but especially just starting out, keep it simple. Don't beat yourself. Don't commit dumb penalties. Don't turn the ball over. Take care of the football.
A game manager?
Is that
what you're
this is where you got to start. Okay. But this is a part of a path to get to that 6-6 that both me and Gary have predicted and that they can do. And that's how you do it. Don't turn the ball over. Don't commit a bunch of penalties. You know, keep it simple that first year as you continue to develop and be improving and playing your best football towards the end of the season. And we talked about this during the break. I'm not saying identically record-wise, and I'm going to win 9 games, but my point is go back to the first year under Bo Pelini where you had some moments where you were like, okay, they're playing a lot better. They obviously had a lot of players that were, the cupboard was decently stacked to begin with. That's a different deal. So I know it's apples to oranges, but my point is you will have some games that will be like, all right, we're getting better. Oh, it was a close loss, but we're playing better. Oh, they got a win they shouldn't have. Oh, they were playing really well. And then you're going to have a clunker, say that year they had Missouri and they lost 52-17.
At home, too.
At home, yeah, a Saturday night game. It was all set up for them to have a big night, and it was a big night for the other team.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of that, but that's part of the process. You're like, where's the starting point? Where are they starting from? This is it. When you have 3-4 win teams, you're not going to immediately be 9 or 10. You're going to have to start somewhere. And that's why by year 2 or 3, you're just going to continue to add pieces to what you want to do. But in the meantime, with what you have, this is where it starts. Taking care of the football, eliminating the things that cost you games in the past. Go back to the Wisconsin game last year. They have the lead going to the fourth quarter, but pretty much everyone knew how that was going to play out, and it did. So now you got to learn how to, okay, how do we start? We start this by preventing that. If we have a lead going to the fourth quarter, we're going to take care of the football, we're going to play good defense, and we're going to finish the game. And they're going to learn how to win. And with each time you get one of those, you learn a little more. Hey, we got one. All right, now we'll get another one. So you got to start somewhere.
And that's
where they're at.
I'm curious if there is a carryover effect to some extent with the guys that were part of that game against Iowa last year, where you give the coaching staff that remained with Mickey Joseph some credit that they were able to, because that had all the makings of another great Nebraska collapse. You get off to this great start. You have Trey Palmer, who's just having this career type day. And I mean, Casey and Trey can't miss. And then all of a sudden, Iowa kind of slowly starts creeping back. You're thinking,
here we go again.
My gosh, is this really going to happen again? Just like in Lincoln when Nebraska had Iowa on the ropes and you get the punt block. And even with the punt block, scoop and score, it still did not give Iowa the lead, but everything was just so deflated on that sideline. There's enough guys from that roster a year ago that probably remember that feeling, what they were able to sort of hold off on the road. I mean, that was a key element there too, is holding off a team like Iowa on the road, what they did. But you're right when it comes to how this season and the ebbs and flows of it are going to be. Because one of the things that I will be watching for more than just, individual schematics and scheme and everything that, of course, we'll kind of nerd out when we get there, is in those moments, I like to refer to them the high leverage moments or the pressure moments of a game. How are they responding?
When it's nut cutting time?
Yeah. How are they responding to that? Do they look like they're completely comfortable and confident, or do you see a team that's pretty itchy and scratchy when it comes to those moments, like we did for the most part under Scott Frost, where it was a team that would put themselves in a position to win football games, but it was a team that would also kick itself in the where in the key moments and lose a football
Which is
game.
Actually impressive when you think of how
I know
you get your foot up
have
there.
To get like your heel up there. You'd have to be kind of bendy.
Might want to go do gymnastics.
You have your teammate that does it for you. Maybe just whacks you right there. But I mean, that was always the mental makeup of this team. And it was one of those interesting commentary about
smile and say I'm about to get hit in the nuts
with a wiffle ball bat. Put this plant on top of your head. That was the interesting thing when you heard the anonymous coaches with Athlon talk about Nebraska. They look the part.
Yeah.
They've got dudes, but for whatever reason,
bus team.
Yeah. The all bus team. And then you would get them in those situations and they would come unglued.
Because the other team's like, all right, keep your composure, keep your poise. They're going to beat themselves.
The narrative was,
we'll capitalize.
Just stay in this game. Just do not get buried in an avalanche to where
which is the biggest insult you could get.
Yeah. Where even Nebrasking won't, be the difference for us.
Don't worry, they'll blow it in the night.
I mean, I think that's how everybody kind of thought of them. And maybe Nebraska was able to accomplish something.
They buy into that when that happens.
Iowa. Exactly.
They know it.
Because they think, oh gosh, here we go again. Yeah, it's the woe is me. We've been here before. That's why I do wonder if there's enough carryover from what they accomplished in Iowa, where they were able to finish that thing off. They had to make some plays, both offensively and defensively, to finish that thing off. And they did. You could look at it in two different ways. They turned a corner or they were due.
Yeah. Maybe a little both. I mean, now we won't know.
But now you've got a brand new coaching staff that's trying to address all of those finer details that when you get to that moment, you feel like you are as prepared as you could possibly be to make it through those moments successfully.
If you let me nerd out for a second, I'll lose most people, but there'll be a couple people that are fellow fans that will understand of a certain age that know what I'm talking about. So Jimmy Johnson coached the Cowboys. They were 1-15 in 1989. In 1990, they were 7-9, so they got a little bit better. They were in position to make the playoffs, which would have been miraculous after going 1-15, and then Troy Aikman separates his shoulder in the last game of the year against the Eagles.
7-9 in the East would actually win the division.
Well, and so in 91, in late September, they're playing the Giants, who were defending Super Bowl champions, and they end up coming back and they win a game at the end, and they get a big play from their defense. And it's on the YouTube, it's in the highlight video. But Jimmy Johnson's saying, like, he tells the team, you guys got down and you could have started thinking, oh, here it goes again. And then he says, those days are over. It's not going to be here it goes again. My point to that, and why I'm bringing that up, other than the fact that I'm just, nerding out here, but there will come a point, if they stay consistent, which everybody that's followed Matt Rule knows this is what they do. This is how they built programs, how they did it at Baylor. There will be a game. Will it be year one? Will it be year two? I don't know. Every rebuild is different. It may happen fast. It may not. But there will come a game where they have one of those moments where you could have been like, oh, here it goes again. And then they find a way. Once you do that, then you're off and running because you're learning how to win. So I'm very interested in general, just as a college football fan this year, to see how that goes, because I do think they got it right. I really do. I saw a lot of it firsthand at Baylor, what they did. And that was a different deal because of the scandal with Art Briles and all that stuff. But what he did there is he played all his freshmen and he let them basically get the crap kicked out of them, but they built from the ground up. So they went 1-11 that first year. 2 years later, they were the ones doing the beating the crap out of. And they had a great year, and that's obviously what spurred him on to the NFL. But and that was in 19, where they were really good. I mean, they were salty on both sides of the ball. That's, I think, a similar, not the first year, because they're not going to go 1-11, but that's the kind of idea that by year 2, year 3, we're like, oh, they're really damn good. They'll do that by recruiting. They'll do that by developing. I know that's a trigger word but you have to. You develop the players and that's one of the things that's been missing over the years.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this year.
You get dudes, but what do you do with them when you get them?
And Nebraska's going to lose games this year. It's going to happen
But how are those
to
losses?
what tune? Exactly. What are you accomplishing out of those losses?
Is it a dumbass onside kick? No, it's not going to be that. It's going to be, all right.
You got out talented.
All right.
And that's the thing. What they accomplish in those losses. When I say what they accomplish is, what are you accomplishing for the future? Are you able to take that loss and make that something that you can build off of, as opposed to, you know what, it's just year one, we'll figure it out? I mean, is there purpose behind those? That, okay, here's how it happened, and here's what we're addressing, here's how we're getting better. It's having that mindset. We're going to talk more Husker recruiting here in just a moment. Greg Smith of Rivals, but first we got our first update.
Yeah. Okay. Amy. Got to get that. Amy Williams adds another 2024 commitment to her basketball program at Nebraska. Still haven't found that on YouTube.
Thanks, Jim Nance.
Yeah. And Amaya Hargrove, who chooses the Huskers over Missouri, Creighton, Marquette, among others. Hargrove hails from a tiny town called Christopher, Illinois, a population just over 2,300. The 6'2" forward averaged 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals per game last season for her high school. Silly season's officially on in the NBA with the NBA draft tonight. The Boston Celtics, Washington Wizards, they've had an interesting week. And the Memphis Grizzlies agreed to a 3-team trade late last night while you were sleeping that sends Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics and Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies. So it's a big deal. They're overhauling things with the Celtics because they have to do something now. And guard Tyus Jones to the Wizards. As part of the deal, Memphis is sending Boston its first-round pick in Thursday's draft. That's tonight, by the way, in case you wonder what day it is. The 25th overall selection. And the Golden State Warriors' top 4 protected first-round pick next year, while the Celtics are sending the 35th pick in Thursday's draft to Washington. The Celtics are also sending forward Danilo Gallinari and center Mike Muscala to Washington as part of the deal. The 3-team deal came together in the minutes leading up to a midnight Eastern deadline for Porzingis to opt into his $36 million player option for next season. With the deal completed, Porzingis opted in. No surprise. Also, no surprise with the draft tonight, the San Antonio Spurs will draft Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs will be getting their 3rd ever top selection, and with it a chance to take a 3rd-generational big man talent after Hall of Famers David Robinson and Tim Duncan, #blessed. Wembanyama had admitted he felt lucky to be going to San Antonio, a franchise that's very popular in France, thanks to the Spurs' tenures of French players/legends Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, multiple NBA championships between them both. Wemby said yesterday, for me, San Antonio is synonymous with winning. When on lottery night, when the Spurs got the number 1 pick, I was just thinking I was feeling lucky that they had picked as a franchise that has that culture and that experience in winning and making and creating good players. So I really can't wait. Me either. I get the league pass again. In college basketball, pretty big story here. After leading Connecticut to a national title, Dan Hurley has agreed to a new 6-year contract that guarantees him nearly $33 million and puts him among the highest paid coaches in men's basketball. A good deal. Hurley's new deal keeps him under contract through the 28-29 season and includes incentives for athletic and academic success that could push the full value of the deal even higher. Hurley, who developed a reputation as one of the nation's top program builders at Wagner, Rhode Island, and UConn, resurrected a Huskies program that had fallen into irrelevancy after reestablishing UConn as a Big East power. First of all, they went back where they belong. Upon the school's reentry into the conference in 2020, Hurley delivered the program's 5th national championship with a dominant March run that culminated with a title victory over could-be conference-less San Diego State in April. Despite losing 3 players expected to be selected in tonight's draft in guards Jordan Hawkins, Andre Jackson, and center Adama Sanogo, the Huskies are expected to be a preseason top 10 team again next season. Big East basketball is going to be fantastic next year.
Absolutely.
And there's a Big East team in Omaha, so you can see all of that. That's really good.
It's fun, yeah, and they're good, and they're
going to be good.
Preseason top 10, maybe top 5, depending on where you look. Yeah, it's not too early to
season tickets on sale now.
Yeah, there you go. Creighton, we'll bill you later for that one. Yeah. But no, it's all good. All right, thanks, Jimmy. Coming up next, we've got a lot going on with Nebraska recruiting, and excited to be talking to Greg Smith of Inside Nebraska, the Rivals Network, covering not only just Husker recruiting, but also covering the national recruiting scene. Greg is up next here. Morning, Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. All right, we've got baseball. It's fun. We like it. But you know what else we like? We like a good cocktail. We like Templeton Rye because Templeton Rye is bringing a few all-stars of their own to baseball week here in Omaha. They've got their all-star lineup of 4-year, 6-year, and their all-new 10-year reserve. And Templeton Rye is absolutely the perfect way to celebrate your home team. It's for the strong-spirited. They've got new bold look and a same great taste. As you bring yourself into Omaha, if you are Johnny-come-lately, if you're sandbagging for the championship series for Saturday, whatever your travels might consist of, make sure you enjoy a Templeton Rye. Now, Templeton Rye is best enjoyed on its own, but you can also add it into your favorite cocktail. Making cocktails, well, Templeton Rye can be enjoyed in many of your favorites, like the Templeton Old Fashioned, a Manhattan, a Templeton Sour, or the Iowa Mule. You can find all those recipes at TempletonDistillery.com. Also, while you're in Omaha, and we got a couple off days for all of our fans before the championship series begins tomorrow, maybe early on Saturday. Yeah, we do have baseball. Maybe you want to go earlier today and make it back for the LSU Wake Forest game tonight. Well, guess what? You've got Templeton Distillery in Templeton, Iowa, just a short drive outside of Omaha, and it is open most days of the week. Visit the new Templeton Distillery and learn the history of a local legacy and what goes in the distillery exclusive releases. Enjoy Templeton Rye. Enjoy responsibly. Templeton Rye Spirits, Templeton, Iowa Rye Whiskey.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I feel the need to stand up for bunting. I feel as if it has been crusaded against. I feel as if there is a war on bunting, Josh. They hate bunting. They hate giving up outs. Nerds. It was started by that line in Moneyball where Billy Bean says, never bunt. You're giving up an out. And I'm here to tell you it's still good for something. So, once again, Connor Happer here for bunting.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Funplex Water Park and Rides from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Hot weather continues on Thursday. We'll see mostly to partly sunny skies. Can't rule out a stray pop-up shower storm in the afternoon, but the majority of us will remain dry. Highs around 90. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a significant delay westbound along I-80 near 144th Street. On Center, be prepared for a bit of a slowdown from 192nd to 171st. And on L Street, be prepared for major delays from 132nd to 120th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Reason 83 to celebrate 30 years of Fernando's.
You just got your tax refund, and there's enough left over for tacos.
Winner of first place in 2023's Best of Omaha's Best Mexican Restaurant. Come in and get your Fernando's fix.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Shop Sid Dillon Chevrolet, Nebraska's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Visit any of our 4 locations for your new Chevy or pre-owned vehicle or at SidDillonChevy.com. Chevy, find new roads.
You are what drives us, Sid Dillon.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Twisted Thunder Fireworks is going to save you big money. You'll find the best variety and the lowest prices in the entire state of Nebraska. Don't believe us? See page after page of products and pricing online at twistedthunder.com, where you can watch everything before you buy and choose local pickups so it's ready to go for you at the tent. Go to twistedthunder.com to check out all of our locations in Nebraska and the newest location in Council Bluffs. That's twistedthunder.com.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Switch to Cox Mobile and instantly save $200 on a new iPhone 14. So whether you're keeping up with your book club,
It all began in Manchester.
or sharing your latest recipe, you've got a plan that fits you based on the data you need. Switch today and instantly save $200 on a new iPhone 14 featuring the most impressive dual camera system on iPhone. The new Cox Mobile. We're different because you're different. Limited time offer for existing and new Cox Mobile lines. Prices exclude taxes and device activation. Other fees and charges are subject to change. Other terms and conditions apply. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Oh, yeah, some folks try to chime in on the 42-degree hotline, want to talk some College World Series. We'll be doing that. Also at 9 o'clock, Kyle Peterson will jump in. He will talk about what is a potentially...
he'll talk about the College World
He will
Series.
talk about the College World Series, and he's a little smarter than I am on that. So good man to have on, especially what could be an epic pitching matchup tonight in the win or go home matchup between LSU and Wake Forest to see who will join Florida in the championship series. And again, we have Omaha Baseball Village coverage starting at 10 a.m. with the Connor Happer Show. Then on Sports and Iconic, we'll follow at 2 o'clock, all from the Omaha Baseball Village, leading you right into the broadcast tonight at 5:40 with the boys for that one. Another, as we know, June, big recruiting week, weekends, Friday night light camps in Nebraska have been very busy getting commitments by, well, recruits that I think we would consider them maybe some projects, if you will, guys that this coaching staff feels like they can develop. And with more on all of the happenings with Nebraska recruiting and beyond, we welcome in Greg Smith inside Nebraska with Rivals. Greg, good morning, my man. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to be back with you guys.
Yes, it's been a minute. It has. And first of all, I know you're now covering a little bit more on the national scene as well. So congratulations on being able to. I'm assuming the travel maybe gets a little bit demanding at times, but congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the travel and everything gets to be a little hectic right now. You think about what's happening with Nebraska in June. That's happening everywhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So yeah, having to deal with all of that on the fly has been quite the ride. But I'm enjoying it so far.
When's your first scheduled vacation for the summer?
3 weeks from now,
Okay.
we're doing a road trip to the Northeast. We've never been to that part of the country, so we're gonna do like Vermont, Maine, and all that stuff.
Okay, good. And then you'll be back in time for Big Ten Media Days, I assume.
Yeah. That we were just talking about that return flight this morning, actually. So yeah, then we're full go with the season, right? Like that's all just around the corner. It always sneaks up faster than you think.
I know you've probably been asked this question a lot here, especially in the last week with the Sunday that Nebraska had with the commits, and then you had another one on Monday, and you continue to see guys that sort of have a common thread, and that is maybe the offer list isn't overwhelming if that's how, if some of the casual fans want to compare recruits like, well, what about this guy? He wasn't on Iowa or Iowa State's radar. Why should Nebraska be excited about him? Or this guy only has one Power 5 offer, and he's obviously going to accept Nebraska's. I think maybe it's fair, Greg, to call these guys more developmental type players. But if you were to kind of look at their background a little bit and just maybe this trend here recently with Nebraska coaching staff, what do you kind of make of it?
Yeah, I find this whole thing to be fascinating. Like, I understand that it's weird because I think that a couple things are true at the same time. I do totally understand the fans, and I've definitely heard from them that say, what is Nebraska doing here? It feels like they're getting guys that they could have waited to get later. Why do you need to take this many, like, quote unquote, developmental guys that don't have those, comparative Power 5 offers? But I would counter with that is if you look back, like say Nebraska, and it wouldn't have happened this way because of the coaching staff, but say this time last year, Nebraska's coaching staff had signed Eric Fields. Like people would have said the exact same thing, but then they got him at the end of the cycle with Matt Rule, and then he's the only recruit that Matt Rule calls out by name in that press conference, and everyone thinks he's going to be really good, right? So it's just some of this is a little bit of timing, and I think that another part of it is this coaching staff, and this is something that I've talked to our subscribers about on the website all the time, is that you have to understand that this coaching staff completely trusts their evaluations and their eye for talent. Mm-hmm. They think that if you have the key ingredients that they're looking for, a lot of the size, speed, measurables, and then a good work ethic, that they can build you into a good football player. It's what they did at previous stops and what made them successful. I just don't think they're going to change that, but I understand why that's going to cause some hand-wringing in the fan base until you see it on the field.
Right, and I think this is the one thing that I've taken away from this, Greg, is that Matt Rule has already alluded to this is how this is going to be an element of their recruiting is being able to find these guys, and they feel like they've got a coaching staff that is more than capable of developing those guys so that by the time you see either a redshirt sophomore year or maybe a true sophomore year or even a junior year, that these guys are going to be able to impact. And maybe it's the fact that we're seeing a little wave of that recently is got some people wondering, okay, what is sort of the end game when it comes to this class in its entirety?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that's happening. But I mean, if you look at, there are 14 total commitments right now, and the thing, because it's been such a dominant story of them taking kind of these guys that they found at camp, which I also think is really important on all of this, that all of these guys basically that have committed here over this last weekend were guys in Nebraska worked out personally. So they have a really good idea of what they think that they can do, which is also important because that will get kids to come to these camps in the future, right? That's also a thing that can't forget. But with only 14 commits right now, they still have to fill out the rest of the class. And there's still plenty of guys that have really good ratings that are either been on campus this week or definitely coming this weekend or that have already been on campus. So I think that there's really a blend going on here. It's just that it feels so much heavier the other way with developmental guys because that's just been what the run has been recently.
I mentioned the one offensive lineman that people were like, well, where's the Iowa offer? Where's the Iowa State offer? And Jake Peters, a Cedar Falls guy, and a guy that may be a bit undersized, but still looks like he's got a lot of force. And I know some people are already kind of interested in him, like what they saw in his film. What's kind of your analysis of Jake Peters and what you've seen?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's weird to say someone that's like 6'1.5", 6'2" is undersized. But for what's happening in the offensive line right now in college football, it does feel that way. But I like him a lot. Like, I think that he, and honestly, every offensive lineman in the class, him, Landon Davidson, Gibson Pyle, and then some of the guys from last year's cycle as well, they all have kind of got that deep streak that you like to see in offensive linemen. That does not surprise you, with Donovan Raiola being the guy that's kind of now hand-picking those offensive linemen. But I like Jake Peters. I think that he does have good power off the offensive line, and I think that he's pretty technical as well. I think the reason those Iowa State offers didn't come, and he was on their radar, both those schools, but those measurables just is what kept them from really pulling the trigger there. But we've seen that time and time again in college football. Kids don't have measurables, and then they end up being okay, and we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Greg Smith joining us from inside Nebraska with Rivals. The most recent offensive line commit too is Landon Davidson out of Colorado. Same question when you kind of look at him. What jumps off the page, and does he maybe seem a little bit further along than what Peters looks like right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say he's further along with Peters. The thing that jumps out at me about Landon Davidson, his athleticism. He's a guy that he ran a sub-5 40-yard dash and weighed in at 315 pounds when Nebraska camped him. That's pretty good, right? That's moving. And we talk about having those interior offensive linemen that can pull and get out there and really, be able to, get hands on people. He's definitely a kid that can do that. Matt Rhule told him also that he didn't play defensive line, if they would have offered him as a defensive lineman. If Donovan Raiola hadn't identified him first. So I really like Lane Davidson. And you talk about comparable offers. I think that's one where as soon as Nebraska offered him, Colorado came in right after that, a kid in their backyard that they missed on. They're kind of doing their own thing out there and having their own issues with local high school. But that's a good sign, though. When Colorado comes in right after that, kind of if they messed up, that's a good thing. I think Nebraska got a good one in Landon Davidson.
Well, let's focus on this weekend, and especially from the local recruiting scene. If you look at two big potential gets out of Bellevue West, especially now that Danny Kaelin is with Nebraska and what he's done at the Elite 11 camp. I know it seems like a lot of people are forecasting Isaiah McMorris, a good shot that Nebraska can get him. And I know just a couple of weeks ago, there was maybe some hesitation to say that Davon Hall was all in, but it seems like that's trending in the right direction. So this weekend and what you're hearing, what's happening now with some of those guys?
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation and one that you don't see all that often. I thought that Nebraska and McMorris were kind of trending towards each other for a while now. Like we talk about those camps a lot here already today. Isaiah actually came down and went to one of those camps for Nebraska, even though obviously he has an offer and other offers. But he came down, worked out with Garrett McGuire and Satterfield and those guys. I think Danny Kaelin threw that day as well. And so I thought that things were going well there. That relationship has been strong. And Isaiah has told me that Garrett McGuire is maybe his best relationship with the wide receiver coach in his recruitment. So that's really good. Davon Hall, as you alluded to, like Nebraska and him just weren't really seeing eye to eye. I just think that Davon at first was kind of looking for some different stuff, maybe wanted to get outside of the state. And that happens sometimes. Guys want to leave, particularly get down to the SEC. But those offers did not come as quickly as maybe you would have thought, especially considering his recruiting profile as a guy who has been kind of in our top 250 is basically his whole recruitment. But Nebraska then circles back to him after kind of, writing him off, it felt like a little bit. And now I do think that they're in a good position to get him. I think that it would be very advantageous for Nebraska if both of those guys made a decision sooner rather than later, perhaps even tomorrow, so then that way you can kind of get this big weekend rolling, and then all eyes will be on another name that I'm sure will come up in Carter Nelson.
Yeah, and again, I know Carter Nelson is someone that maybe early on it looked very positive for Nebraska. Now Georgia's gone all in on Carter Nelson. Just what you're hearing and what Nebraska's efforts do entail, how are you feeling about this one?
Man, it's a tough one, right? And that it's the tailor-made situation for Nebraska. You have a small-town kid from out in Ainsworth that is completely blown up in his recruitment. You would think that Nebraska, it should be a slam dunk, and I think most people thought that until we start taking these official visits. You go down to Georgia, and I think that Georgia feels really good through talking to people. Georgia feels really good about their ability to land him because their pitch is essentially, we can make you Brock Bowers 2.0. That's the type of player that we think that you are. That's a really strong pitch, right? Even though they have 2 4-star tight ends. in their class already. I know the most recent visit was to Penn State. I don't think Penn State's getting him. Notre Dame also got a visit. They're a real threat here as well. I think they've always been a strong player. But you saw last night on social media, if you did, he was at the College World Series with Danny Kaelin. Like, Danny is going to be, has been recruiting him very hard this whole time. I think Nebraska does have a good pitch with be a part of this big class that can then bring Nebraska back. You can be the in-state hero. Here's also how we can use you in this offense as well. Like, I think that there is a compelling pitch there. It's just going to be tough. Like, it's a really tough sell to take that leap of faith, but I do think that Nebraska has a shot here.
Greg, you mentioned Danny Kaelin too, as far as the stock, if you will, and the ability to kind of make this even a bigger, stronger recruiting pitch to not only local guys, but even to some of the national prospects with what he has accomplished at the Elite 11 camp, making it to the camp Elite 11 finals. First of all, were you surprised by this, and how significant could this be when it just comes to the pure recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at his performance. I think that he's a kid that is really underrated nationally. And we've actually talked about that on some of these national calls. I am pounding the table for Danny Kaelin to be rated higher. And so that didn't surprise me. But I do think that it's a big deal for him to go out there and perform that way when it comes to peer recruiting, because especially when it's kids that aren't local, right? So Davon and Isaiah, for example, know how good Danny Kaelin is. They play with him on a weekly basis. But maybe some of the kids that he's helping to recruit that aren't local, seeing a performance like that, I think really does help. And he was already a well-liked kid. So now if you get to the fact of where, hey, you like me, I can also show you that I am pretty good and I can stand toe-to-toe with these other elite quarterbacks in the country. They can't do anything but help Nebraska's case in that. And he's been trying his butt off to try to make sure he helps and gets guys in this class. He's been down there almost every week since he committed, besides the week that he obviously was at the Elite 11. He actually didn't make it back in time for that recruiting weekend last weekend, but he told me he was in the airport texting guys while they were on their visit. Like, he's all in on trying to help build the class.
Is this, and you've been covering, both the local scene and beyond here for a while, but especially when it comes to in-state recruiting, this upcoming high school fall, is this going to be one of the more anticipated falls for just your casual fans that maybe aren't, say a West Side fan or a Bellevue West fan, but are a Nebraska fan, are going to be making their way out to some of these stadiums on Friday night more than you can remember?
That's a great question. Yes, actually, I think that will be a thing. There's so many guys right now. Like, I think so Nebraska's at 10 offers right now in state. There could be more if you really, stretched it. There will be other guys that, are either Power 5 players or will go on to play college football. Like, it is going to be a highly anticipated local schedule this year, or slate. Like, it will be really fun to see on a week-to-week basis who comes out on top. And if some of these teams that have multiple guys that are going to play Power 5 football, if they end up winning state, like, there's going to be some pressure there for even like Bellevue West or Omaha West Side. Like, they're going to have to go out there and perform. They're going to give people that shot every week. Like, it's going to be a really fun season this year.
Greg, before I let you go, I always have to do this when we talk. It's been a while too. Are you feeling some positive vibes around our beloved Chicago Bears, or are you still in, like most Nebraska fans are with the Huskers, are you in wait and see mode?
Well, I'm in wait and see mode.
Okay.
I just want to see it. Like, I do feel, I'm allowing myself to feel some positive vibes. I do. This is the big year for Justin Fields. He's going to break through. But I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. But ask me in like a month, and I'll be all the way there. They're going to the playoffs, making a deep run. So
I wouldn't mind if they did make one last move for an edge rusher. But as far as what they've done to the offensive line, for the most part, I'm encouraged. I'm with you. I think they've at least put enough around Justin Fields that you should get a better feel of what he truly is. So, all in all, Ryan Poles, it's let's just say it's a stark contrast from Ryan Pace. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we can definitely say that. There's some encouraging signs. I love the fact they put some actual weapons around Justin Fields. Thank you.
And weird to have a draft stockpile and not necessarily just giving away draft picks too. So, and it's
feels odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a functioning organization all of a sudden. But hey, well, we'll see. Greg, great stuff as always, man. I'm happy we got a chance to catch up. We'll have to do this again too. Keep up the great work, man. And if I don't talk to you before the big vacation, enjoy that. I know it's well deserved, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You guys have a great week.
As Greg Smith, inside Nebraska national recruiting analyst, always good stuff from Greg. Yeah, and I know when I was
didn't know
gone,
you guys were fellow Bears fans.
Oh yeah, we're long.
Bury the lead.
We
there.
commiserate over that all the time. But and Sam McEwen too. We've got like a little network.
Oh, that's
of,
right.
Of Bears fans. And Mike Patterson of the Omaha World Herald, also a huge Bears fan too. So we every now and then find ourselves on a little Sunday text chain of typically pissing and moaning about the Bears,
as you should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little section of us that there's a support group. We'll just say that.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a nice little support group.
And then once a year, you guys all get together and watch the 85 highlight video.
And we watch the Super Bowl Shuffle, and then we also remember 2018 because that was cool until the field goal by he who shall not be named, Cody Parkey. All right, when we come back, there was something that Rob Manfred said, maybe too little too late. Want to get to that. Sarah Baker Hansen joins us right at 8 o'clock. We're also going to be talking to Steve Sipple as well. As we continue, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy here on 1620 The Zone. All right, so with college baseball going on, and we still got big game tonight. We've got games this weekend. A great place to watch the games, to hang out before and afterwards is DJ's Dugout. They've got a location that is right smack dab in the middle of all of it at 10th and Capitol. DJ's Dugout downtown. Great place with daily food and drink specials. The tremendous media wall to watch all the games, whether it is college baseball or tonight's NBA draft, whatever it might be. And it's a perfect place to gather with family and friends because they can accommodate any size party, whether you're just strolling in there for a pregame cocktail or you've got the entire Little League team with you. They can accommodate you, and you're going to love the food, including my favorite, the Super Bowl nachos. So make DJ's Dugout part of your game day plans, either before, during, or after the game. They have 7 convenient locations, including their downtown location in 10th and Capitol, right by the ballpark itself. DJ's Dugout is Vietnam veteran and locally owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text CHEST to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text CHEST to 42424. That's CHEST to 42424. Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
We've asked some water park experts at Funplex in Omaha what the best part of summer here is at the park. So, what do you guys think?
Motion Ocean, the slides, the lazy river, splash, double trouble.
Whoa, word of time. Whoa!
We got this. Riding the waves of the Motion Ocean. Next, double trouble. A trapdoor drops, and suddenly you're rocketing down a slide feet first. Yeah, but what about music and lights inside Rockin' Rapids?
Okay. I guess the experts have spoken. This summer, let the fun drop at Funplex. Get your tickets now at fun-plex.com.
Businesses of Omaha, settling for a website that looks like it's stuck in the early 2000s? Then it's time to level up with JM Online. Our local team builds custom websites that solve unique business needs. We're not your typical web design company. We're your partners in online success. Ready to take your website to the next level? Go to jmonline.com and request an initial call.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Am I in Sunday worship service right now?
I know it's not the traditional organ. It's
Yeah.
a church organ.
Oh, okay.
But it's still Fade to Black.
It is. That it is. Dun, 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 dun. I like it. We're going to talk to Sarah Baker Hansen here in just about 5 minutes. Let's go to the 42 Degrees hotline and say hello to Monty. Good morning, Monty. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Very well, very well.
I got two things. First of all, LSU's going to win it all because I think LSU's pitching is holding up pretty good so far, and they're going to continue to hold up. And as far as Nick Handley is concerned, the Kansas City Chiefs are going back to Super Bowls this year.
So that means on September 24th, when I roll out to Arrowhead Stadium to watch my beloved Chicago Bears, that the Chiefs are more than likely going to win that game.
Handedly. No pun intended.
Kansas City's going to win that game.
Yeah, they probably will. Well, can you at least tell the Chiefs fans just to be nice to me? That's all I ask for. I just want them to be nice to me because I'll be wearing Bears stuff, and I'm sure the Bears are going to lose. I just want people to be nice to me.
Well, the Bears don't have a quarterback.
Well, we think we do. I mean, we don't have Patrick Mahomes. We could have had him in 2017, but we think we have one in Justin Fields, but they just, I don't know. Now, see, Monty, you're making me sad now. That's what you're doing. You're making me sad.
Well, Kansas City will be in the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't say that's a terrible bet. I reluctantly would agree with you that they have as good of a shot as anybody, if not a better shot. So I'm with you on that one, Monty.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate the call. Yeah. Well, I guess say the Bears have no quarterback. Like Greg said, we don't know yet. We're hoping to find that out. That's the goal of this season because they're trying to build an offensive line around them, and they're trying to provide a little weaponry around him. So we will find that out. All right, when we come back, Sarah Baker Hansen joins us. It's been a couple weeks since we've talked to her. We'll get her feels for the tastes of Omaha, especially for all of our out-of-town visitors. If you are somebody that is looking for some great restaurants and some great places to check out while you're here, you won't want to miss Sarah Baker Hansen. She joins us coming up here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy here on 1620 The Zone. Hey, Nick Handley here for my friends at Woodhouse Mazda. Drive what I drive, the 2023 Mazda CX-5. I love this CUV. It's equipped with standard active all-wheel drive, which means, yes, you're good in the summer, but more importantly, you're good in those rougher weather months like in the winter here in Nebraska. And the CX-5, it's got you surrounded with comfort, like the Napa leather trim seats that are extremely comfortable. And it also comes available with the My Drive modes for tailored performance, including off-road modes, sport, and standard. And you can also cruise in style, whether you're taking a trip to Chicago for a bachelor party or you're just getting yourself to work. With their modern infotainment system, you're going to enjoy every ride you get with the Mazda CX-5. Right now, you can lease a 2023 Mazda CX-5 for $375 per month for 36 months, 10,000 miles per year with approved credit, tax, title, license extra, $2,500 down, plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number MM230287. Offer expires 6/30/2023. See dealer for full details. Check out Woodhouse Mazda in their two locations. They are at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue and Woodhouse Place Mazda out on 144th and Giles in Millard. You can also chat with a sales member online and easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and more. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a significant delay westbound along I-80 near 144th Street. On Center, be prepared for a bit of a slowdown from 192nd to 171st. And on L Street, be prepared for major delays from 132nd to 120th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call 402-810-0789 or visit IBEW22.org today.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Those of you who've enjoyed the cigar lifestyle for any length of time are keenly aware of the enviable reputation of Rocky Patel. Impeccable flavors and aromas, flawless construction. So allow me to ask, how would you like to attend a Rocky Patel event at Hearth Cigars on Friday evening, June 30th from 6 to 9? There's plenty of free food, live music featuring the Dive Kings, and of course specials on Rocky Patel's. Talk about a perfect start for a long Independence Day weekend. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, I-680 and Mormon Bridge Road. Those of you who've enjoyed the cigar lifestyle for any length of time are keenly aware of the enviable reputation of Rocky Patel. Impeccable flavors and aromas, flawless construction. So allow me to ask, how would you like to attend a Rocky Patel event at Hearth Cigars on Friday evening, June 30th from 6 to 9? There's plenty of free food, live music featuring the Dive Kings, and of course specials on Rocky Patel's. Talk about a perfect start for a long Independence Day weekend. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, I-680 and Mormon Bridge Road.
Hey folks, is your concrete in need of repair? Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts and a Best of Omaha winner, Everlevel Concrete Repair. They can completely restore and repair your concrete at a fraction of the price compared to replacement and offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. There's a reason they're a Best of Omaha winner. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Fireworks season is here. This week is a Zone Deal 4th of July Mega Week. Each day we'll feature deals from businesses half off. Check out the deals from Cracklin' Kirk's, Twisted Thunder Fireworks, and Molino Fireworks, all for half off. Don't miss this 4th of July Zone Mega Week at 1620thezone.com and click deals. That's 1620thezone.com, click deals. And don't wait, these deals will go fast.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620, The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
Now I realized at 8...
This is a banger?
Well, this is a banger, yes. But at 8:06 a.m., if you're doing a morning show and you have not had breakfast, probably need to not look at Sarah Baker Hansen's Instagram.
I've made that mistake many times, but I try to time it to where I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I was in Mexico and you guys spoke last with Sarah, but as we welcome in Sarah Baker Hansen, and good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. I just stumbled upon this was a blast from the past, like a couple weeks ago. The Primo's breakfast plate that you took a picture of. That I want every bit of that right now.
That's on my list of places to try.
Yeah. Yeah. Be sure to go for breakfast. That's where they really excel, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness, that looks really, really good. So I know you've probably been hit up over the last week or so as we get a lot of that, as we know this time of the year, a lot of influx of out-of-town visitors of the best places to check out. And so, and I'm curious, and it doesn't just have to be during College World Series, Sarah. It can be anytime when somebody from out of the States is always curious on, places that you must check out. When asked that question, are you going more off of the lesser known, going to kind of sneak up and surprise you type places, or, more of maybe the more popular Omaha or surrounding area staples?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the College World Series is so hyper focused on North Downtown that, I think people really want to stay kind of around that area. Matthew and I actually went to the LSU Wake Forest game earlier this week, and it was really interesting. Just places right next to the stadium are obviously just incredibly crowded. So I do feel like a lot of people are going there. One thing that we did was we walked across Cumming Street and went over to Cross Train, which has a tap room over in North Downtown, and it was crowded, but it wasn't like just absolutely a smashed in crowd of people. So, if somebody was asking me for like a stadium nearby recommendation, I would absolutely recommend checking out Cross Train. I think I like it a lot. They have a bunch of really good sort of like summer beers, I guess. And I had a wheat beer made with orange peels. So it was like super bright, citrusy, really refreshing. It's very hot outside, obviously. And there's a new restaurant in the sort of development over there that's providing food. So they had QR code menus, and you could order several different sandwiches or appetizers to share, and they were bringing it over to the brewery. So I think there's always like new things happening in sort of that area, but really all over the city. And that was one that I thought there were definitely some people from out of town there. But it's not going to be so crowded.
Yeah.
And so just kind of like, can you even get in the door? Highly doubtful type situation.
In that Millstream area too, and I haven't been out there as much as I would like to, especially as of late with you mentioned the Cross Train and kind of the sort of the reimagination of the Dingerville area. But are we seeing more food trucks as well in that area, or at least in the downtown area? Or is that something that just with the crowd, it's probably not as present?
Yeah, I think there are still a lot of food trucks around. There's a whole in the baseball village during the day. There's a whole kind of food truck, I guess, kind of rally.
Yeah,
you could say pretty easily. So the thing is that Matthew and I had not eaten before the game, and so I ate some food at the ballpark, but then I wanted to still eat after that, and so we went over to the food trucks, but unfortunately they were all closed. But when I used to do radio spots in that area of town, in the baseball village, I tried a lot of those food trucks, and a lot of them are really good. So there is a lot to be seen around there. And there's also a big line of food trucks that's parking next to the Jean Leahy Mall on a pretty daily basis. There's, they're not always the same, but as I drive by there almost every day, I think, oh gosh, I've never seen that truck before. So there are a lot of new ones out there. I tried a coffee food truck a couple of weeks ago, and I had a really excellent iced cold brew after I finished a run around the park. So that's kind of awesome. So I think, and I do see people migrating to the old market. That's where we ended up after the game. And there were a lot of College World Series fans. We were in M's Pub. There were a lot of College World Series fans in there. So yeah, I mean, I think, people want to stay in the downtown area. They find their favorites and they kind of stick with them, just like anybody else does around Omaha when they visit.
Talking to Sarah Baker Hansen here on 1620 The Zone. So you mentioned in the stadium too, and I know every year you try to roll out something new, and there's always like a day or two. Well, it's usually like 2 or 3 days before the College World Series, and they invite members of the media and people that are going to be interested in knowing the selection.
I need to get on that list.
I know. I think there is always an open invite. You just got to flash a credential, right? But is that something that you have done pretty much every year? And is there anything that was kind of a must check out for you this year?
I have not. I didn't get the invite this year, but I have begun to pursue my invite for next year. I will
Okay.
tell you that much. I always thought it was really fun to try all the College World Series food. I remember, probably the biggest moment was a few years ago that I can remember in recent years when they had the introduction of the tachos.
Yes.
That was a huge one. So yeah, I mean, I looked at what they had around this year. It looked like they had some kind of like, I don't, the one thing I would question is I don't know if anyone is realistically going to eat a salad at the College World Series. I
I'm
saw
with
they
you.
had a couple salads, which I thought was a little weird.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you. But I did, as we were walking around the stadium, I did see, a lot of the offerings, like the big box of barbecue and some of the other, the box of sliders. But it's kind of interesting. Like we ordered a pulled pork sandwich and a hamburger, and I was looking at what other people were ordering, and as I was in the line waiting, and I did not see anyone buy the giant box of barbecue. However, I saw probably 100 hot dogs sold in that time. So, I wonder sometimes, like, how many of those items do they sell? How popular are they? Are they in reality? I mean, they keep making them up for obvious reasons, because it's probably really fun for those chefs to come up with something new. But one of my favorites that they've had for many years now is the Reuben dog, which is like a locally made sausage that's kind of done up like a Reuben. And I've always thought that one was really good and kind of like, holds up well in a ballpark atmosphere setting where you've got to sit in a plastic seat with you're lucky if you've got a few napkins and like eat this messy thing. So that's one of my longtime faves.
So relatable.
Yeah, totally. I got to ask you about, and going back to some of your reviews and just on Instagram right now, the Speakeasy. I've never heard of this place in the picture that you put out there. And I know this is earlier in June of a place that I'm not even familiar with in Sacramento, Nebraska, which I believe is by Holdridge.
Yeah, it's right near Holdridge. So I first wrote about the Speakeasy when Matthew and I were doing our book, The Better Half. And I heard of it and I became enamored with it. It's a steakhouse that's basically in a ghost town. The rest of the town is completely gone. And the Speakeasy is the sole thing remaining of the town. And it's been there for a long time. It's a family-owned steakhouse, and the chef there is the second generation of the family to run it. His name is Ryan Pools, and he's a fantastic chef. He lived and worked in Seattle for many years. That's kind of where he learned food. And my favorite story about the Speakeasy, which was in the story that I wrote for the book and the World Herald, was when he came back, he wanted to sort of refresh the menu. And at the moment, that was like a big moment for pork belly. And he put pork belly on the menu. He was making it in-house. Nobody ordered it because nobody knew what it was. So he renamed it Bacon, and he started handing out free samples. And since then, it has become the #1 seller on the menu at the Speakeasy in Sacramento, Nebraska. And I think that really just shows, people are willing to try stuff, but sometimes you have to do a little bit of education. And if you look at my photos, you'll see on my Instagram, the pork belly is in that carousel of photos that I posted from the Speakeasy, and I don't go there without getting it.
Yeah, that looks fantastic, and it makes me want to make my way out there. Before I let you go, too, kind of getting back to sort of the Omaha scene and what's going on right now. Anytime LSU is in town, I know there is always it's kind of funny because it trickles down to maybe even some of the Omaha fans that they get a taste of maybe some of the tailgate food that our good friends from Louisiana bring in. And so you start getting a little bit of Cajun food on the mind. And so I want to ask you, is Cajun food in your wheelhouse? And are there places that if there's anything that our friends from Louisiana or now our Omaha fans that are now got a taste for Cajun food need to check out? Because it always seems like that type of food gets talked about quite a bit here in this week and a half of stretch when LSU is in town.
Yeah, it does. Several years ago, I got invited to an LSU tailgate, and if you ever get that invitation, I strongly recommend that you take it because it was great. Probably my favorite Southern restaurant historically in Omaha is a Mouth of the South. I think they just do a great job. Cajun cuisine is sort of that's what they do. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get a sort of a taste of that, I would highly recommend checking them out. They've got several locations around Omaha now. And yeah, I think they do, they do crawfish, they're doing jambalaya, they're doing, they do homemade andouille sausage. So they've got, and they've just got all the classics that you would be looking for. So yeah, that would be my strongest recommendation if you want to try that cuisine.
All right.
And that's exactly where we're going here in a few days.
Hey,
Yeah.
You're going to have to wear purple and gold then when you go there.
I can do that. Yeah, I have some beads somewhere.
What are you working on right now before we let you go?
Well, as usual, I have a review coming out on the day we talk, so that will drop later this afternoon, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's a place I was excited to try, and yeah, I hope you're interested in reading it. I'm pretty excited about it.
Absolutely, and you can see that at sarahbakerhansen.com. Also, again, if you just want to absolutely torture yourself when it comes to food envy on Instagram as well.
Late.
Yeah, no, we've already done that to ourselves. Sarah, always appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, you too. Thanks for talking.
That's Sarah Baker Hansen. Always good reviews and some fantastic breakdowns of just different food categories. But every time we talk to her, she's got a new review dropping, sarahbakerhansen.com. I know the recent review was Mercer and Sons, where it looks like we're maybe looking a little pastrami sandwiches too. So again,
it's my better judgment at 8:18 in the morning. I'm going to go to her blog. I visit often, but
yeah. I don't know if you saw. There's this picture that she has of this place called Speakeasy in
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't even know what Sacramento, Nebraska was.
We were talking about me and the Instagram yesterday.
Yeah.
That is one I follow, and yes, that's exactly. I know when you said it, I remember seeing it.
Yeah, you know what, folks? You can have your Livy done. It's fine. You can follow her if you want to. I'm going to continue to look at Sarah Baker Hansen's food photos of this place, the Speakeasy, where it has fries. Looks like there is a beef short rib, a soft cooked duck egg over that beef short rib. I'll have that and more. That looks
gonna need a cigarette here. I don't even smoke.
We got Steve Sipple coming up. Speaking of needing a cigarette after you talk to Sip, because he just, it's a euphoric experience, is it not? It just is.
You'll have to ask him that.
I will ask him that. But we got our next update with Jimmy.
Do your co-hosts need a cigarette after the show with you?
That's when you're a good guest.
Yeah. LSU and its legion of fans, they can have as many cigarettes as they want, although they'll go with the Jello shots, and they won't be heading home just yet. Yeah, Omaha's team staved off elimination at the College World Series last night, a 5-2 win over Wake Forest. Gutty performance by the Tigers. The victory forces a rematch between the teams tonight at the Chuck. That'll be fun. And that'll determine Florida's opponent in the best-of-3 final, which begins Saturday night, because the Alligators defeated TCU yesterday afternoon to send the Horned Frogs home. Good game, a 3-2 game, and ended very dramatically at the end. Neither coach would commit to their starters for tonight's game, but odds are it's going to be Rhett Lauder for Wake against Paul Skeens for LSU. Yeah, and if you listen to KP in the game yesterday on TV, he's excited, and you should be too. If that is the matchup, they would be coming back on 4 days rest. Discuss. Pregame begins at 5:40. Game at 6 o'clock. You can hear it all right here on the Zone as we become Westwood 1 when everything happens. So it all originates from right here in this building. The Storm Chasers scored 4 unanswered runs over the final 3 innings to even their series with the Rochester Red Wings, a 7-3 victory yesterday afternoon. They jumped ahead quickly in the top of the second inning with 3 runs on RBI doubles by Jermaine Palacios and Edeni Hecheverria, followed by an RBI single from Tucker Bradley. Behind starter Max Castillo, Walter Pennington, James MacArthur, and Colin Snyder threw perfect 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, respectively, with just 31 pitches combined between the 3. That's good stuff. The strong combined effort from their pitchers gave the offense a chance to jump ahead. They would do so in the 7th behind a single and 2 walks, which loaded the bases with 1 out. Then a wild pitch scored the go-ahead run, and Logan Porter singled in 2 for the 6-3 lead. Brewer Hicklin added an extra run of insurance in the 8th inning, doubling in Bradley, who finished the day 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored. An RBI and a walk. Same 2 teams this evening at 5:45. Right-hander Jonathan Bolin makes his AAA debut on the mound for the Storm Chasers. In the bigs, Jake Fraley hit a tie-breaking 2-run homer in the 8th inning as the Cincinnati Reds extended their major's best winning streak to 11 games. They may never lose again, rallying past the Colorado Rockies 5-3 on Wednesday for a 3-game sweep of the poor Fighting Mountains, who have lost 8 straight. Ellie De La Cruz hit a 1-out bloop to left field for a double against Daniel Bard, and Fraley hit the next pitch over the wall and right, sending the Reds to their majors best 12th comeback win of the season. The NL Central, that's right, NL Central leading Red Stockings, that was their original name way back when, are now 40-35. They lost 100 games last season, and they're making my under on that board look really bad now.
Did they change the Red Stockings to the Reds because it was ultra confusing when you had the Red Sox and the Red Stockings?
I always wonder that too.
Yeah, it had to be. It's almost like you just can't have two of those
Also, we
exist.
stopped calling them stockings.
Yeah,
That
that's
might
true.
have something to do with it.
Well,
Well, we're going to call them socks. You can't be the Red Stockings.
Did they have to like rock, paper, scissors to see who would hold on to their name? Like the Red Sox could have maybe been the Reds had they lost, had they chose paper.
Well, this was the 1800s. They might have had an old-fashioned draw.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Like Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
and Mad Dog Tannen.
Or Kurt Russell in Escape from L.A. Draw. Snake, was it Snake?
Snake Plissken.
Yeah. Yeah, don't, by the way.
Oh, we play
if you're wondering,
Bangkok rules.
if you're wondering what we're talking about, Jimmy and I saw that movie, so you never have to. It's not good.
What? That Cuervo Jones was a bad dude.
It's no Tango and Cash.
Yeah,
All right, it's no Tango.
It's
and
no
Cash.
Escape from New York.
I never even saw that one.
Oh, you got to watch.
Yeah.
You're the Duke. You're the Duke.
I just decided
You're the Duke of New York.
one escape from one big market was enough for me.
Yeah, number one. Anyway, wow, I've just gone deep. This ties back to something you talked about yesterday. A play at home plate in a game between the Padres and Giants was overturned on a review last night. The second straight day, a disputed review had a significant impact on the outcome of a game. In the fifth inning at what is now called Oracle Park in San Francisco, Blake Sable of the Giants appeared to be thrown out sliding into home by a strong throw by Fernando Tatis Jr. of the Padres on Jock Peterson's two-out single to right. Sable was initially ruled out, but the call was challenged by San Francisco and changed following a lengthy review when umpires cited San Diego catcher Gary Sanchez for blocking the plate. Frustrated, Padres manager Bob Melvin argued the call after the video review, but was unsuccessful. After the game, he called it just one of the worst calls he's seen this year. Well, he has a short memory because a night earlier, Rangers manager Bruce Bochy was ejected for the 80th time in his career. Again, congratulations, Bruce. After a call at the plate was overturned because catcher Jonah Heim was ruled to have blocked the plate illegally. The White Sox, Zach Remillard, singled in Elvis Andrus with a go-ahead run on a play that was overturned by video review. Andrus was initially called out the plate by umpire DJ Rayburn on Travis Jankowski's throw. I don't know if he went to the Harry Wendelstedt umpiring school. You remember that in the back of Sporting News? I was like, you know what? I know Harry Wendelstedt. I might want to be an umpire. I was like 8.
What was better, that or the Tommy Mansky?
You know, I'm going to have to give Tom Amansky slack because we saw it all the time. You know, on ESPN back in the day, instead of these blithering idiots that just screaming at each other for 3 hours, you used to get these workout shows where they'd be in the yoga pants and they'd be doing and then you'd get the weightlifting and world's strongest man, and you might get a Jack LaLanne infomercial.
Where is the world's strongest man?
And then
bring that back.
Towards the end of July, you would get about 2 hours straight of NFL yearbooks. You would just geek out to watch. Oh, we're doing the NFC Central today. This is great.
Yes.
I'm even watching the Bucks, which were 4-12 the year before. But the worst is when you would get the yearbook and you're excited to watch it, because remember, we didn't have a guide back then. We had TV Guide. If that. And so you would be excited to watch NFL yearbooks. You see one, you're ready for the next one, and then here comes tennis ball on TV. Remember Cliff Drysdale? He had a great voice.
Yes. Wow. Now we're really going somewhere with this.
So then you're excited to see, well, maybe they'll show the Packers next, and that new kid, Favor, or
Brett
whatever his name is.
Favre.
And then you'd hear some, tennis ball match from California. I was like, what's this crap? I don't want to watch this. Well, then,
And
Tiny
Fred
Toons it
McGriff
is.
would be right there talking about
All
why
morning.
he gives it his full endorsement and seeing kids throw baseballs into a trash can at home plate.
But in the back of Sporting News, you would get, Harry Wendelstedt's umpire school.
You know,
and he was a damn good umpire, too.
Let me throw this at you. If you're a manager and there is a play at the plate where your guy is thrown out and he was completely dead in the water and he's out, what we've seen now the last 2 nights with these initial rulings of an out call and then being challenged to see if there was any type of obstruction of blocking the plate, wouldn't you just now, based on this, because I'm a big guy of there's precedent. I'm a big guy of precedent. There's been now 2 horrific calls when it comes to blocking the plate.
It's not been a good week for umpires.
Is this like trying to define what constitutes a catch in the NFL. Like, remember the completing the process, and now you've got a little bit of clarity. I still agree.
Mark's gone, so he can't argue with me.
I think he did, and this is not the fact that I just hate the Packers, but I do think Des caught that ball too. But I wonder now if there's like even like a shoelace that happens to be present over the plate that constitutes as blocking the path.
Yeah, somewhere Ray Fosse is thing. Like, where was this then?
Yeah, I exactly. I would challenge every play at the plate if my team got thrown out, because I would think, hey, if maybe the like toe box of that catcher's shoe.
They said toe pick.
Toe pick? No, the toe box of that catcher's shoe is actually covering some portion of the plate. I think we got a shot to get this thing overturned, because that's how brutal these calls have been. They're just terrible.
Oh, this is Matt on the old www.twitter.com. So, fun fact. The Cincinnati Red Stockings were around well before the Boston Red Sox. Actually, a portion of the Red Stockings left Ohio and moved to Boston to eventually become the Red Sox.
Really?
Wow.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. That actually does seem to be, well, it's a lot better than having to draw or duel over who gets to keep their name, the Red Sox or the Red Stockings. Because that's why I said Red Stockings, because if they were in Boston, they would be the Red Stockings.
And if you said it like that, you'd be Cliff Clavin.
Yeah,
well, actually, Sammy, yeah.
I'm a big Stockings fan. See, and that's the Sox and the Stockings.
They were wicked winners.
Yeah. Well, now
they moved to Boston, became even bigger winners.
Let's go to Charlestown, Mass. Who's driving the car? Yeah, that's some good that's some good insight there from Matt. Appreciate that.
That might be the greatest tweet that we've received since I've worked.
We've had some good ones. Oh, and I
had some good ones.
I would be remiss if I did not bring this one up too, going into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. TC was commenting on the bowling story earlier. Remember, I said one of the
this should be good.
One of the great titles, or I'm sorry, not titles, but it will hopefully will be a title of a E60. But the headline from the Lufkin Daily News on that assistant bowling coach who had an inappropriate affair with a bowler on the team, and his wife is actually the head coach. The headline was "Spare Relationship Causes Awkward Split." TC wanted to comment, and he said, "Get your mind out of the gutter." Yeah, buddy.
On the Deadspin, they have a good one. Stephen F. Austin bowling coach's gutter ball affair led to a 7-10 split from his wife and job. We'll tell you about it tonight at 10.
Again, we encourage you, because this was talked about a lot on both shows at the Baseball Village yesterday. Encourage you to read up on the story if you have no idea what we're talking about. But my final thought on this, and I just, if something like this happens where there's an extramarital affair, it's kind of scandalous. But I understand that Lemke's both have children. So maybe for the children's sake, you want to make sure you try to...
And not to be confused with former Atlanta Braves great Mark Lemke.
It was not. No, this is not Mark Lemke. He has nothing to do with this. I don't even know if there's any relation there. But they have children, so maybe you want to try to, do right by your children and try to make this work. This is why I think this story is so freaking bizarre, because the assistant coach, the husband, if there was any chance of letting it work, he basically goes on this word salad of a rampage of how he's the victim. I won't get into all the quotes and stuff, but so any chance of sort of mending that fence, I don't think it's going to happen.
So would he ask Donnie to mark it a 7 or a 6 and a 9?
It's not, it's just everything that he says. I mean, from a content standpoint, and that's what we dabble in, it's pretty good. From a moral and ethics standpoint, yeah, there's nothing good about it.
Connor and Josh could have gone on for an hour.
Oh,
I would have been endlessly entertained.
Yeah, because it just, the more you read quotes and the more you saw how much he spoke, you're just like, this guy won't shut up about it.
When you hear in the voice of something we were talking about earlier, my mind goes to anytime you see quotes like that, I start reading them in my mind with the voice of Morgan Freeman.
Oh, that'd be great if we could get even Caliendo to to do a Morgan Freeman imitation on the quotes of this assistant coach. But yes, and well done, TC, because you can throw in any type of gutter ball reference. There's a lot you can work with on this one.
Sports.
All right. Speaking of sports, we'll talk them with Steve Sipple of On 3 right after the break. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone. You know what's not a gutter? And you won't ever find yourself in the gutter. Well, hopefully you won't. With Templeton Rye, because they've got their all-star lineup as we celebrate college baseball. And their all-star lineup consists of their 4-year, their 6-year, and their all-new 10-year reserve. Templeton Rye is the perfect way to celebrate your home team. And one of the great things about Templeton Rye is, first of all, it is made with the strong-spirited in mind. It is a new, bold look. It's the same great taste. And Templeton Rye American Whiskey, with the available 4-, 6-year, and all-new 10-year reserve, is best enjoyed on its own or in your favorite cocktail. And you can find out some great cocktail recipes by going to TempletonDistillery.com, whether it's making a old-fashioned, a Manhattan, a Templeton Sour, or an Iowa Mule. You can find all of those and more drink recipes at TempletonDistillery.com. But what is a great little adventure, especially if you are in town checking out the college baseball, you find yourself with an off day tomorrow. Well, the Templeton Distillery is just a short drive outside of Omaha, and you can check it out. Find out when they're open. They are open most days of the week. Just go to TempletonDistillery.com and learn more about this local legacy and what goes into the distillery exclusive releases. And I bet you get a chance to sample 1 or 2 while you're there. Awesome stuff from Templeton Distillery. Make them a big part of your baseball celebrations and your summer celebrations. But as always, enjoy responsibly. Templeton Rye Spirits, Templeton, Iowa Rye Whiskey.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West 1 Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
We have NIL, we have transfer portal, we have conference realignment. Do we need like a new scandal?
Man, I just love the games. I just like games. Well, it's people don't like the NBA because it's all drama. They don't like the games. People love all the drama. That's what college football turns into for 9 months.
Well, have you seen the non-conference schedule? It sucks.
Man, it is pretty bad.
It sucks.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Funplex Water Park and Rides from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Hot weather continues on Thursday. We'll see mostly to partly sunny skies. Can't rule out a stray pop-up shower storm in the afternoon, but the majority of us will remain dry. Highs around 90. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect a significant slowdown from 183rd to 160th on Center. Then on Dodge, be prepared for some delay from 94th all the way to 75th. And along Highway 370, be prepared for a significant delay from 150th to the I-80 East and West ramps. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott.
Time-saving traffic is brought to you by Ultimate Bullfighters.
Ultimate Bullfighters are at Sarpy County Fairgrounds this Saturday night, powered by Oxford Construction, Midwest Poured Walls, and Cornhusker International Trucks. Tickets are $20 in advance on Ticket Source or $25 at the gate. After-party performance with Cooper James.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Fireworks season is here. This week is a Zone Deal 4th of July Mega Week. Each day, we'll feature deals from businesses half off. Check out the deals from Cracklin' Kirk's, Twisted Thunder Fireworks, and Molino Fireworks, all for half off. Don't miss this 4th of July Zone Mega Week at 1620thezone.com and click deals. That's 1620thezone.com, click deals. And don't wait, these deals will go fast. Those of you who've enjoyed the cigar lifestyle for any length of time are keenly aware of the enviable reputation of Rocky Patel. Impeccable flavors and aromas, flawless construction. So allow me to ask, how would you like to attend a Rocky Patel event at Hearth Cigars on Friday evening, June 30th from 6 to 9? There's plenty of free food, live music featuring the Dive Kings, and of course specials on Rocky Patel's. Talk about a perfect start for a long Independence Day weekend. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, I-680 and Mormon Bridge Road.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Twisted Thunder Fireworks is going to save you big money. You'll find the best variety and the lowest prices in the entire state of Nebraska. Don't believe us? See page after page of products and pricing online at twistedthunder.com, where you can watch everything before you buy and choose local pickups so it's ready to go for you at the tent. Go to twistedthunder.com to check out all of our locations in Nebraska and the newest location in Council Bluffs. That's twistedthunder.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Remember when we talked about our own personal biography theme song too? I'm not saying this would be one for Sip, but I could see some Tom Petty being in on Sip as well. Steve Sipple joining us from On 3. Good morning, Sip.
Yeah, it's one of the better Petty songs.
This is a good song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to. Petty has so many great ones. It would be really hard for me to rank them, and I don't do that because songs hit me in different ways at different times.
Oh, absolutely.
But that one, that's always going to be a top 5 to me for Petty.
I agree, and for a top 5 Petty song, that's saying something there too. But there is always that association with the Mary Jane, so I'll just leave it at that. Sip, come on. I mean,
how about a girl named Mary Jane?
Yeah, it's not has nothing to do with any other substance.
That's a very well thought out song.
Sip, Jimmy did tell me when he got you online though, to make sure. How's the pup doing? Everything good?
Bullet, yeah, 8-year-old Bullet.
I love that name.
Yeah, he's made I'd say he's got a clean bill of health right now.
Excellent.
Probably for the last 3 or 4 days, I would say that. Yeah, if he had I'm sure there's a lot of dog owners out there that have gone through a dog having acute pancreatitis, and it's a horrifying thing for the dog. But yeah, it was about a 2-week situation, but he's doing fine now.
Good. That is, I mean, they are family members. So as soon as we heard that, we were thinking of you, man, because we know at some point it's inevitable when we have those furry friends that things happen. But man, it is. Oh.
Yeah, this one I related to the most because I obviously have talked a little bit about mine, but I've gone full in. With being a puppy parent. I mean, I have a car seat. Actually, we both have car seats in our vehicles, and I have a baby Bjorn. I mean,
like beautiful.
Yeah, we share a closet, and so it's.
Jimmy's got T-shirts as a proud puppy parent. So,
Jimmy and I had a very similar experience because his dog had acute pancreatitis.
Yeah,
so very similar, and it's really hard because the dog's clearly in pain.
Yeah.
And, dogs can't talk to you, so you don't know exactly what
you don't know the level.
Right.
But with acute pancreatitis, it becomes very evident that it's extreme pain.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest. That was the hardest part of it.
Yeah, that day and night, one of the worst of my life, and I'm not being dramatic. That's
God,
that's
Jimmy,
one
I
I
mean,
wouldn't want to relive.
Jimmy, I'm 100%. I'll never forget the Thursday morning that when it got worse, and we shared the same sentiment. I'll never forget it. That Thursday when it became evident that there was something severely wrong, I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that things are good, and yeah, that is great news.
Thank
you. Sip, I want to start with the Jordy Ball effect. I know she would not allude to this during her press conference this week, but look, we all got sort of enamored with the run not only Iowa women's basketball were on, but just the Caitlin Clark effect and how that translated even beyond the court. You got a chance to see her in the circle for Oklahoma. We know how good she is as a player, but I was saying this just listening to the press conference. I wasn't there, but I had a chance to listen to it later in the day. There's a lot of similar qualities when I listen to Caitlin Clark speak, when I listen to Jordy Ball speak, as far as the confidence, but it's not arrogance, just someone who understands how important their role is, but doesn't basket it, doesn't make them about them. I don't know. I don't even know really how to describe it. It's a quality, though, that seems to be, maybe I just go back to the word confident in not only their craft, but confident in where they are, who they are. And I really found some similarities there listening to Jordy Ball earlier this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one word you could attach to is they feel responsibility.
There you go. Yeah.
And I think that with responsibility, you also feel a degree of humility. She is definitely confident, and she went, what was she, 44-2 at Oklahoma, 44-2 with a 1.00 ERA. I think she had, double check it, but I think it's 397 strikeouts and 288 and 2/3 innings. If I'm right about that number, I was looking it up yesterday. That's an incredible number. I mean, well, let's put it this way: it is 1.38 strikeouts per inning.
Yeah,
strikeout almost a batter and a half per inning. Yeah. That's remarkable. What I really find, I'm like you, I watch the press conference, but what I find most maybe appealing is how much he loves Nebraska. And we always want that. We always want that student athletes, right? They love the institution. They love the state. And she has this genuine love. I mean, she's homesick in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Thought it would get better in year 2 if it got worse. She wanted to be here. She wants to be here. That's what we love. We love those athletes. They clearly are playing for the state. It's somewhat rare, I think, for someone that intensely loves the state and wants to be good for the state. And let's face it, that probably gives her a better chance of achieving even more success.
Exactly.
It's doing it for something much bigger than herself. You know how that goes in the world. If you're doing it for something bigger than you, it usually turns out much better.
Sip, you're 100% right. And because I was bringing that up yesterday, after listening to her talk, I'm hearing her sort of reemphasize that homesick feeling and, kind of chalking it up to just being a freshman. And then it still kind of lingered with her, where you would think as any student athlete, whether we're talking about female or male athletes, where that is still an element of your day, that you're trying to compartmentalize that, be able to put that away and focus on what you're doing on the field or on the court or whatever sport you're participating in. And so she's got that going on that, it's probably constantly on her mind, yet she is at the top of her game. And she is one of the most elite performers in that sport. I don't, because I know there's already so many expectations on her and this Nebraska softball team since she officially became a member of the Nebraska softball team. But I do wonder, have we even seen the best Jordy Ball softball player? Because now if there's that sense of comfort and she's kind of got her mind at peace because of where she is, dare I say, could she be even better than what we've seen?
Yes, I think that there's a chance of that because she doesn't have to put a lot of energy into that sort of negative emotion felt. Now humans are complex, and sometimes you have some sort of negative thing in your life, and you realize you cognitively have to put that aside, and it might make you focus even more on whatever task. So we'll see. I mean, humans are hard to predict in a lot of ways. How will she handle? There's this pressure. I think it's incredible, this story. I do, because I read these things like what is the impact of Jordy Ball? Well, one impact is Nebraska's an automatic national title contender.
Yeah, and
I kind of laugh. I think it's exciting. There's a part of me that says, "God, don't put that on her." I mean, come on.
You're right.
Let's not do that. What is the impact of Jordy Ball? Well, softball's popularity is going to rise exponentially. Okay. I mean, sometimes I want to say, this is back off a little bit. It's true, probably. I just hope she sort of has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that's being put on her. Now, what what would be great, Nick? Here's what would be great. And this is what not that I don't want to portray this as a negative situation. It's incredibly exciting. But what would be great is if they would pick someone from the portal, or they would sign maybe a 4-hole hitter that's capable of hitting a zillion home runs, and who is proven and who has a brand of her own, and that would take some pressure off.
Yeah.
Right. That I would love to see them sign another player or two that has a pretty big brand in that world and that's proven. Now, I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I guess it could.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point because, I mean, yeah, on the surface, you'd always love to have that type of impact player regardless of the situation. But I hear what you're saying as far as taking a little bit of Jordy Ball is not here to all of a sudden make Nebraska going from a Big Ten, contender to now a national championship contender. But look, she seems like she handles that. She's probably aware of the expectations, but it's one thing to kind of walk into it while the season isn't going on, and then once you get into the season. So if you have someone else that's maybe taking a little bit of that workload off of you or a little bit of that attention, there's no question that could be huge, and for this team and for Rhonda Revelle.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want it to be a situation where if Jordy Ball gives up a few runs and her second outing that we're all questioning what's the deal. I mean, I hope that people have reasonable expectations. But again, it's extremely exciting. I mean, the fact that they've sold 2,500 and plus tickets. I mean, the place only seats 2,500. I mean, so there's this genuine excitement, and there should be, because we're not talking about someone who we're projecting to be good.
Right.
She's been great. I mean, she's a 2-time All-American. We all know what she did at Oklahoma. So we're basing this on something that really happened, which is refreshing.
Yeah. Talking with Steve Sipple here on 1620 The Zone. Sip, a lot of the Husker chatter. We kind of get into that part of the season where you start looking at the roster. We try to figure out what may or may not be in the fall, but a lot of recruiting still taking place. But one of the big wins for this coaching staff, and maybe at the time it seemed like they were in limbo a little bit, because we know Danny Kaelin at the time was committed to Missouri. He commits to Nebraska. And then since then, he just goes to the Elite 11 and makes the finals. From just what he was able to accomplish, and I know you've had a chance to, and you wrote about this a couple days ago too, of maybe this was a big deal to a lot of fans that are now, that maybe if they didn't know Danny Kaelin, they're paying a lot of attention to now. But based on the way he's carried himself, this doesn't seem like he was all that surprised that he's amongst the finals.
Well, if you're a Nebraska fan, I think you feel good about the fact that Daniel Kaelin expected to kind of do what he did, and that he does carry himself with confidence, which is, everybody knows it's incredibly important at that position. He is, he embraces all that position entails. He knows, for instance, Nick, that he's got to be a recruiter. So he's with Carter Nelson last night, right?
Yep.
He was at College World Series. He's going to he's got to take his official visit to Nebraska this weekend. It is his official visit, but he knows his role. His role is help his staff get players. Now that'll help him too. If they can lock down Davon Hall and Isaiah McMorris and Carter Nelson, that's not only going to help the program, it's going to help him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It can help him down the road. But back to your point about the Elite 11, he expected to go there and be successful, that's a good sign. I mean, some of us are still kind of getting to know Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
We should be getting to know him. He's not even technically a Nebraska player yet. But the picture is good, particularly, it's good from a tangible standpoint, but he's got to go out in his senior year and do it again at Bellevue West. But from an intangible standpoint, man, I mean, he embraces all what that position is about. He embraces what it means even just to be a Nebraska recruit. He embraces the recruiting element of it. He's very strong verbally in interviews. So there's a lot to like there. But now, here's the thing. You got to go out and perform.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of coaches, and you've been around athletics a long time. Performance is leadership. And, leadership is performance. So he's got to continue to perform.
Yeah, no question. Sip, before I let you go, also just kind of gauging this roster, something we were talking about early, and I know, the local papers everybody's kind of doing their different breakdowns, and I found it interesting. Chubba Purdy, he was in a top 50 with the World Herald and Journal Star collaboration there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree with that, but what I'm saying is this is a guy that very well could be the third string quarterback, and my biggest takeaway is, boy, there is still a lot to be known with this roster. And then when you look at just the experience or lack thereof of guys, playing either Power 5 football or with this football program, I think the Chubba Purdy element to that is kind of interesting because we don't even know if he's going to be the backup to Jeff Sims.
Well, we don't. I think Heinrich Harbor would tell you he's going to be the backup.
Mm-hmm.
I think Heinrich Harbor's camp would say, no, we're number 2. So there'll be a good competition there between Chubba and Heinrich, and it's really important. I mean, it's really important that those guys improve.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing we do, and we do it as sports fans, we'll write off guys prematurely, pretty fast, right? And I think a lot of people have kind of written off Chubba. They haven't had really a chance to write off Heinrich because he hasn't appeared in games. But a lot of people have written off Chubba, and I won't do it. I mean, he's too young to write off, and you just hope. But if you're a Nebraska fan, you hope, okay, that the people writing him off are wrong, and you hope that he's much. Well, I mean, let's face it though. But let's hope he's much better than he showed.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, his completion percentage, what was it? I think it's 48.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last year, and in the moments that he played, he threw 3 picks and no touchdown passes. He didn't put up the kind of numbers you want. But on the other hand, I've said it on my show in Lincoln here, Nick. He shouldn't have went in the Illinois game. I think that was a coaching error by Mark Whipple. He wasn't ready. I mean, anybody who watched the game closely could see Chubba didn't have any confidence. I mean, it's probably because he wasn't prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
I know maybe Chubba would take issue with that. I don't know. He just didn't look prepared.
Right.
So I think some of what happened last year is on the coaching staff. So long story short, what I'm getting at here is I want to see what it looks like this year with Chubba. That if he's getting ready to try to be the number 2 quarterback, let's see what it looks like when he goes through August and he's all about. Let's face it, Chubba hopefully saying, no, I'm not trying to be the number 2. I'm trying to be the number 1.
Yeah.
First of all, that's what you hope. But what will it look like this year with Chubba and Heinrich Harbor? I don't know. You just hope that those guys improve and it shows.
Yep, 100%. Sip, always appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend as well, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Steve Sipple with On 3, 93.7 The Ticket. Always good to hear from Sip. And again, very happy to hear the dog is doing good. First of all, I love that name, Bullet. I just think of like, when you think of man's best friend, I think of a dog named Bullet. I'm like, okay, and some on top of just being that best friend. So
I don't understand the rhyme or reason when this works or not, but yeah. Bullet, it could be also a favorite movie.
Could be
the movie.
Could be. Oh wait, are we talking about Silver Bullet?
I mean, that's
talking
one
about
too.
Are you talking about a Gary Busey movie? About werewolves?
Well, I like where you're going with that, but no,
Corey
it's talking
Haim?
about. Okay, we're gonna go.
Brothers Corey.
Yeah. No, I cannot think. Bullet was Steve McQueen.
Oh, okay. I was also going to go with what is we've been talking about Templeton Rye. What is another good whiskey too is Bullet. Bullet's a good one too.
Yeah.
So,
but they're not sponsoring.
No, nope. I didn't know.
But we were willing to go above and beyond with Templeton Rye and drink it on the air.
100%,
which could have made for interesting last hour.
I see that 1620, the beer right there.
You took one for the team.
Thing that's been sitting in the windowsill for over a year. Yeah, I had one of those warm.
Yeah, it was
and chugged.
Several hosts ago.
Craft beer is not meant to be chugged either. I will say that. So,
yeah, in Lot D today, they're not going to be chugging IPAs.
No, and if you do, then
I mean,
it's
a
that's your day. That is your day. We are going to be talking to Kyle Peterson. Speaking of the College World Series, big matchup on the mound potentially, not confirmed, but if you do the math, it looks like Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens head to head to try to punch their ticket to the championship series. KP joins us here in just a moment. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
How powerful is Cox Fiber? So powerful that one day, your daughter will be able to simulate a soccer match against some of the world's best players right from your backyard. Introducing Cox Fiber. With fiber-fast speeds, it's internet built for tomorrow, today. Limited availability in select areas. Speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Cox terms and other restrictions apply.
It's time to wake up your taste buds. Introducing my new Fiesta Line Chicken Pizza. Spicy taco sauce, generous amounts of chicken, green peppers, onions, jalapenos, mounds of cheddar and mozzarella cheese, and finished with a tangy lime sprinkle. Add your favorite one-topping pizza and my sweet cinnamon monkey bread. Fiesta Feast. Now that's a fiesta for your mouth. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Hey, Jay, can you finish that induction range installation tomorrow?
Orders have really amped up at Nate's Electric.
We need to finish installing it first in Maine. Did we hear back from the grocery chain?
It's no shock he needs electricians, like yesterday.
Smart fridge. Everybody wants one of those these days.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked or uneven concrete, Everlevel can do it all with their complete repair solutions. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, and protect the surface, all at a fraction of the price compared to replacement. And better yet, they offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Backlund Plumbing Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect a significant slowdown from 183rd to 160th on Center. Then on Dodge, be prepared for some delay from 94th all the way to 75th. And along Highway 370, be prepared for a significant delay from 150th to the I-80 East and West ramps. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Everyone knows Saul's pays top dollar for your gold.
But Sols pays cash on the spot for your precious metals, too. Silver, gold, platinum, coins, bars. Who wants to wait to get paid? Get to Sols Jewelry and Loan.
For nearly 50 years, Woodhouse has been your trusted friend for new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. In that same time, the corner of 112th and Dodge has been a familiar location where Omaha buys its Chevrolets. Today, both are together with Woodhouse Chevy Omaha. When I walk around the lot, I see a great selection of Chevy Blazers, Traverses, Equinoxes, and Malibus. And of course, at 112th and Dodge, you'll always find the dependable, tough Chevy Silverado. Visit Woodhouse Chevy today and save up to $6,000 off MSRP on the 2023 Silverado 1500. Along with Woodhouse Chevy in Missouri Valley, we'll have the Silverados with the styles, features, and colors you're looking for. Hit up woodhouse.com and look over their huge selection online. While you're there, chat with their knowledgeable, friendly staff and schedule a test drive, all at your convenience. I've found new roads, and now you can find new roads to Woodhouse Chevy. Exit 75 off I-29, Missouri Valley, or 112th and Dodge in Omaha. Woodhouse.com. With approved credit, see dealer for details. Expires 6/30/23.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save. Right now, save $100 when you buy the Flex 24-volt brushless impact driver kit for just $99. That's 50% off the original price. Plus, you'll also find Southwire Romex Simpul 250-foot wire for just $109. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 7/20 while supplies last.
Hey folks, is your concrete in need of repair? Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts and a Best of Omaha winner, Everlevel Concrete Repair. They can completely restore and repair your concrete at a fraction of the price compared to replacement and offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. There's a reason they're a Best of Omaha winner. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620, The Zone.
$16.20 The Zone. Get deals up to half off on some of your favorite businesses in the Omaha Metro. This week's deals are the Bellino Fireworks and Crackling Kirks. Deals go on sale at 9 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday. Hey, that's today, this week. Tuesday already happened. Get all the details at 1620thezone.com. Go now. Pull over. Get your phone out. Not while driving. Now back to sports.
Is it as mega as the Flint Mega Bowl?
Can you buy that at a convenience store?
No. For all those semi-pro fans out there, and the Flint Tropics Mega Bowl. Anytime I hear mega, that's what that
when they play the Spurs, I'm the one.
Yeah, they do play the Spurs.
It's like Little Giants. I rooted for the Cowboys. I can't root for the Giants. Are you kidding me? You know how angry I was? I mean, I'm a kid.
No, wait a minute. No.
How in the hell do you only lead 21-0 at halftime? You have a spike and they don't have ice box. You should have been rolling that like the 95 Huskers to
No,
Pacific.
you leave your fandom at the door, my friend. How are you on Team Spike and you're not on Team Icebox? How? Jimmy,
What did Spike do wrong? Spike was running from the power I. It's not his fault. His coach wasn't a good shoe salesman either and scored 4 touchdowns in one game for Polk High.
You rooted for Hans Gruber, too, in Die Hard, didn't you?
Well, no. Carl was cool, though.
Now, the good thing about Little Giants is they
I want blood. You'll get blood.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, detonators.
Shoot the glass. I felt that Hans Gruber's better role was as Bill Clay. Not Clay. Come on, man. Really? You were rooting for the Cowboys in that movie.
Mind you, this was at the time they were back-to-back Super Bowl champions. So it just was not in my DNA to root for the Giants. Now, maybe they've been playing somebody out of the division. Now, I will try and suspend judgment here as they taught us in journalism school and tell you that Junior Floyd actually is a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he could toss a mean thing in toilet paper.
He could, and Hot Hands Hanen, who, thank goodness, finally made that transition from catching the toilet paper to the football itself.
But look at all the mistakes that Ed O'Neill made, and never mind the game. It's just this more of a movie coaching job I've ever
Well,
seen.
yeah.
Just
I think both of them would like to have
like
that game back.
I don't know his justification for not signing his niece to play.
Yeah. I mean,
She was clearly the best player on both sides. She should have been on that. She would have anchored that defense.
Was it nepotism or was it sexism?
All of it. Terrible. Treated her like Kelly Bundy.
Yeah, that's true.
And then so you snub her. So basically, you created this
Well,
yourself.
he provided the chip on the shoulder that we've seen many athletes, like Georgia, when you say that they're only going to win 7 or 8 games,
Yeah.
which I still
or
don't
Evander
know
Holyfield
anybody-
when Charlie Steiner said he was the 50th best boxer
Yeah.
in Georgia.
or Brooks Koepka when he's not the first person you see in a Fox promo for the U.S. Open.
They can't stop you, and you only lead 21-0 at halftime, and you lose the game on a fumble roost.
Yeah, and then we get into the helicopter parent and Spike's dad who massages
Yeah,
his
that I
hamstrings
can't. Yeah, that guy was the
with warm fabricated milk.
he was the predecessor to Baby Gronk's dad. So I'll
He
support Spike,
is.
but not dad.
Spike was bred for football glory. Yeah. And
He and Icebox could have been Shaq and Kobe before Shaq.
I know. Well, I mean, think about that team coming together as one. I mean, beyond Ohio, Urbania, Ohio, they were going to, take on all comers. Give me Texas's very best pop winner team. Give me California's. You weren't beaten.
I mean, it would have been like 95 or 97 Nebraska against Iowa State.
Yeah. Done that up?
No.
Just
Should
done
have
that
been 56-0 at half.
We
There's
are
my rant.
We are efforting Cal Peterson. He might just got held up here in a moment, so hopefully we will catch up with him before we get out of here. We still got Brian Edwards joining the show before we get out of here. And then when we do get out of here, it's going to be the Omaha Baseball Village coverage beginning at 10 a.m. Now, it's a little bit more of the regular schedule feel for our show lineup today. We will have the Connor Happer show
Still
on
Happer.
the road, yes. And that'll be at 10 a.m. at the Omaha Baseball Village. And, of course, like conduct at 2 with Josh and Mike Schaefer. And that'll lead us right to 5:40 of the pregame coverage between Wake Forest and LSU. Game number 2.
And if John takes I-80 again today, he should be leaving about now. I don't think he'll make that mistake again.
Although,
He knows the trick.
yeah, he does. And now you only have to deal with this. Is the good thing about having just the one game at 6 o'clock is you can beat the tricky travel. And I say tricky travel because sometimes there's a little bit of late morning stuff going on, especially heaven forbid there's an accident in the I-80 interstate and it takes a while to clean up. So you could have a little bit of the lingering effect from the morning rush hour. And then you start getting sometimes especially on a Thursday where,
Taking 3-day weekend.
yeah, you start getting a little bit of the pre-rush hour traffic. So this is kind of the sweet spot where you could probably take off if you're in Lincoln, take off around maybe noon or 1, get into town around 2 or just before, go grab a bite to eat. You don't feel rushed. You can dive into
You could take a
what should
couple of
be-
swings at that bat around.
Yeah. I don't think Cirilla's going to be there. I don't think so. I know he's here.
There's
for
only
2
one way
days.
to go find out.
Yep. That was cool. I didn't get any swings because when I got there to the baseball village yesterday, there was a line that stretched all the way out to like the Blatt. So I was like, I probably won't make it on the air in time. And that was when the game between TCU and Florida was getting very juicy as well. But it's a cool concept. And I think that as it was mentioned to us before we talked to Cirillo yesterday, is it's kind of like the new baseball version of Topgolf. And I want to say there are already plans of this type of technology going up in sports bars now, to where instead of your hitting bay, where you're, unlike Topgolf, you're not hitting out into like a field or anything, but you are hitting into like a screen. And it'll simulate what you've done. You can play games. You can do like target practice. You can play like the middle opposite challenge and stuff. Like this is something that we need to get on board with. And hopefully a lot of young players, the little leaguers out there are playing the middle opposite challenge, because this is where I get on my what the hell happened to hitting rant. That's why
Soapbox coming out again.
it is, because I was so frustrated here in this last decade of baseball in seeing the shifts and the enormous gaps that were provided for a hitter that if he could just let the ball travel a little bit into the zone and go the other way with it, you'd be batting well over 400. But the inability to do so is something that I will never comprehend. And so I hope now that we're eliminating the shifts as we knew them, we'll get back to the abilities to hit to all fields. End of rant. It wasn't even a rant.
No,
that was
peaceful.
I thought it was an abbreviated version
That
of it.
was better than your nighttime golf one. That one I'd rarely seen so much passion from you.
I realized I'm on an island on this one.
Yeah.
A lot of people like the primetime golf.
Josh is big time pro nighttime golf.
I did not like it at all. You can sell me on it for Thursday and Friday. I'm not a fan of Friday either. Like anytime we're like smack dab into the weekend, no, I don't want it because I don't want to feel like, again, not that I go out a lot when it comes to the weekends anymore. Life happens, James. Life happens. But if I were on the rare occasion to go out on a Friday night, if I were fun, if this was 30-year-old
Speaking of somebody that used to be fun.
I mean, I'm fun in different ways now. I think my wife thinks I'm fun. My son thinks I'm fun. That's good enough for me. But
I like me. My wife likes me.
My wife likes me. Gosh, that was sad, wasn't it? Anyway,
yes.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great movie. But I don't want to feel like I'm going to miss something if I'm out and about on a Friday or Saturday night with a golf major. If you want to go the occasional golf event, especially an event out on the West Coast, that's fine. But I don't like having a major wrap up in the evening hours of a Sunday. Because by the time that thing wrapped up, I'm already preparing for Monday. I don't need to and I'm not even talking about for being in the sports entertainment business like we are. I'm just talking about in general, like in the working world where you're already like focusing on your responsibilities for
getting
Monday.
Yourself ready in your onesie and
well, and my son's onesie too. But you're doing the checklist of, okay, here's what we got going on tomorrow. Here's what we got going on this week. And while I'm trying to keep an eye on what Wyndham Clark is doing. Just no.
Wyndham.
Sorry. I don't like it. But if y'all want primetime golf, that's fine. I did think of this one, however, because it's such
so you're the opposite. You're pro morning golf, like when you get at the British Open.
I am. I love it. I love that. Now, I don't necessarily need a wake-up time at 3 a.m. so I can start watching the entire round of golf. But, yeah, I do like when I wake up, like here in about a month, that we will be on this very show right here, and we'll be watching live major golf.
That's fair.
I like that. I don't have to have it that early, but I need it wrapped up at a reasonable hour. That's not old man talking. That's just what I'm used to. But I did think of this. If you want to make something sort of spectacular with sort of a primetime feel to it, and it's not a major, but it's an elevated purse, it's one of like the marquee events now, is the Waste Management, the Phoenix Open. Can you imagine if that had sort of a primetime feel to the point
debauchery that would take place?
Oh, yeah. Like, I feel like, TPC Scottsdale, all of a sudden they're putting up like even a lighting concept to where you've got a little bit of evening golf. I mean, and that's the big part of that event, though, is their nighttime events. They have concerts every night, so that would probably interrupt that.
There appears to be a fan urinating on the green.
There would be a lot of that happening. Hell, there'd probably be some golfers that would probably indulge and end up doing that as well. Like anybody who saw the
John Daly would be like amateurs.
He would. And then there'd be a part of him be like, why did this not exist? Like I was slapped on the wrist when stuff like that happened. Now that it's actually encouraged. But if anybody who saw the Full Swing, the Netflix documentary on the PGA this year, and you saw Joel Damon, and he takes his shirt off on 16 and helicopters it, and then shotguns like a White Claw. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
making sure.
He and his playing partner that day too, because their thing was if they birdied that hole, they had to take their shirt off because the crowd was chanting, show some skin or something like that.
Well, elephants helicopter their trunks for the first year of their life because they haven't learned how to gain control of their trunks, which is not.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, it's a fact. Well, baby elephants.
Really?
Yeah. So the next time you read Babar to your son, just think of that.
Did you know that elephants, their ears are so big so they can flap them, keep themselves cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that part. I did not know that about the trunks, though.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I did learn.
Hey, kids, just because it's summer doesn't mean the educating ends.
During one of the breaks, we did have a Coming to America reference about one of the greatest bands of all time, Sexual Chocolate. And you said,
Mr. Randy Watson.
So when you said Babar, Babar made me think of when the one elephant walks by. Joachim, he goes, "Hello, Babar." I don't know. Okay. Just heard from KP. He is ready to go. So we're going to take a quick break, and
we'll get this thing back on the
Kyle
tracks
Peterson
here.
is going to break up this, and thank goodness.
Christ, let's talk about baseball. You guys are talking about elephant noses.
and Babar. Although Coming to America is always a good conversation.
True, but eventually one of us will code it and get in trouble.
That is true. Could we see Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens? All signs point to yes. We'll get the insights from one of the great college baseball players, and Kyle Peterson, also one of the great analysts of college baseball. KP joins us to talk a big matchup tonight. He joins us right after the break. It's mornings. Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
I pack a cooler for any possible excuse that I have.
Really?
I've packed a cooler at my house before to sit and watch March Madness.
Is this true?
Yes. I like getting a big old bag of ice and then, breaking up the ice.
This is a wild take.
No, it's not.
You buy big bags of ice just to sit in your living room and watch March Madness?
I have done that. I don't do it.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Funplex Water Park and Rides from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Hot weather continues on Thursday. We'll see mostly to partly sunny skies. Can't rule out a stray pop-up shower storm in the afternoon, but the majority of us will remain dry. Highs around 90. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
The new season of the Nebraska Lottery's Lucky for Life Ticket Snap promotion is here. Until July 10th, buy a Lucky for Life ticket and enter the voucher number for a chance to win Nebraska football Skybox season tickets, regular Nebraska football season tickets, single game Nebraska football tickets, an incredible weekend football experience, or tickets to Volleyball Day in Nebraska. So snap to it and enter today. Lucky for Life top prize odds, 1 in 30 million.
What are you doing, hon? I thought we were going to pick up our Powerball with Power Play and Double Play tickets.
Hold on. I have to sit through this video meeting for work.
Do they realize how big the Powerball jackpot is?
I know, but these blowhards keep rambling on.
I don't want to miss my chance to win millions of dollars.
Well, neither do I, but how do I get these win bags to speed it up?
Dave, you're not on mute.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Play Powerball from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds, 1 in 292 million.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around, and every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage. The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
PACE, Police Athletics for Community Engagement Organization, is dedicated to preventing at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children from becoming involved in street gangs, crime, drug use, and victimization. Last year, PACE served over 5,000 area kids with wholesome competition and free participation in soccer, baseball, CrossFit, and flag football. To help PACE and local families make sure kids have access to safe and fun spring and summer activities, please go to paceomaha.org to support the PACE mission. Thank you.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah. HBO.
There's a demographic of our audience that probably hears us like,
Yes. Yeah. What are we watching? What's on right now?
Oh, sometimes that's you get up in the morning or you walk into work and kind of wish that was playing in the background.
Yeah.
Not all days are like that, but some days.
Now they just have the little like click, and then it goes.
Not the same.
That's all.
Not the same.
Well, I guess for the HBO series, it is. For the movies, I don't know.
Which actually reminds me of Dream On. You remember Dream On?
Oh yeah, Martin Tupper.
Yeah.
Yes. What a great TV series. Not necessarily always appropriate for us to discuss on these airwaves.
Oh, I was like, it's appropriate for us now in general to watch, but it wasn't then.
No, it wasn't. Martin Tupper always had he never had a problem finding the lady. For a short kind of erratic gentleman, the ladies found him attractive, apparently. Joel,
hey, it's good work if you can get it.
That's true. Joel on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed says, random elephant facts at 9 a.m. on a Thursday. This is exactly why I listen to sports radio. You are welcome, Joel. You're welcome.
We couldn't have done it alone.
Nope.
Still shout out to Matt.
Yes. Matt started it with, Matt actually did have a sports factoid.
But it's still.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great.
Well, we feel like when people are away from school, and I'm not saying that Joel is of age where he is either in high school or college, but sometimes we turn our brain off a little easier days. We like to continue to sharpen the mind skills. And you might be at a College World Series tailgate today. Maybe you're going to be
if you're in Lot D.
Yeah,
you can educate your friends.
Throw some factoids out there. Maybe have like a bet. As you heard it here, it's true.
Conversation starters like Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
Yeah. We're having phone goblins, by the way, interfere our opportunity to talk with Kyle Peterson right now. So we're trying to remedy that situation because there is it's one thing when you're like, okay, we've got another game tonight. The College World Series keeps going. No, not at all. Because first of all, to recap the College World Series, sans TCU Oral Roberts, this thing has been really good. We've seen a lot of good baseball being played. Now, as we get the one game that will decide who will join Florida in the championship series, this is not the scraping the bottom of the barrel, two teams that are absolutely in ragtag mode when it comes to their arms. This is two teams, like, this is sports, man. Two teams that are fighting to stay alive, but two teams that are likely, it wasn't confirmed last night, but if you see the writing on the wall, two teams that are going to be rolling out their aces on the mound, and they are some big-time arms. Wake Forest's Rhett Lauder and LSU's Paul Skeens. Big dudes, impressive record. In fact, between the two of them, Jimmy. They are 27-2. Rhett Lauder is undefeated at 15-0, and Paul Skeens is at 13-2 on the year. This tonight, now the thing to watch for, and we talked about this when we began the show, the thing to watch for tonight is these are also pitchers that for the most part are used to coming back on a full week's rest, because that's just the way the college baseball game works. It's not like you're throwing your dude on Friday, then you've got a midweek game on Wednesday and he's coming back and throwing that day. Now, that's not necessarily the case. These guys do, look, the creatures of habit. Every athlete is, whether it be student athlete or professional athlete, you're creatures of habit. So your body's used to a certain way of getting ready, a certain way of rest and recovery. But you also, I think, get in that mental state that once you get to the College World Series, and should you lose a game, that the timetable can be moved up. And so mentally trying to prepare for that, but also with the folks from your medical side are trying to make sure that they got the body in position to make that full recovery. You know, it was interesting listening to Paul Skeens talk to the guys, Kyle and Eduardo Perez and Carl Ravitch the other night on the broadcast about his sort of aha moment when it came to going from being a two-way player. And that's the other thing. People forget Paul Skeens at 6'6", 250. Yeah, he could swing the bat a little bit too when he was a two-way player and when he was at Air Force. But trying to commit not only to being just a pitcher, but also committing to being one of the very best in college baseball. That something as simple as just getting a couple of extra hours of sleep. Like, he really talked about just the focus of rest and recovery and how he was being able to shut everything down at night and making sure that he's getting that type of rest. Because as we know, and Jimmy, we both experienced college at a different level than what Paul Skeens does.
Yeah, we didn't really have to do anything.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to be disciplined when it comes to getting to bed at a certain hour, especially when you have morning classes. It's one thing like, oh, I could still go to bed at 2 and I just won't wake up till 10 a.m. Well, you got classes and workouts. Usually the typical student athlete's day starts well before 10 a.m. Unless you're in the college.
Actually, they would be well accustomed to work this shift.
Yeah, they would be. Unless you're Nate Ackenhausen, who decided to, sleep till 11. But hey, they had a long night the night before in that game.
Joke's on him. He missed Price is Right.
Well, and if he went to Burger King or McDonald's, he
didn't play Plinko.
He probably would have missed out on the good breakfast menu too. That's on him. That's a him problem. But for college level athletes to discipline themselves, something as simple as just making sure you're getting that type of rest and what that can do from a different standpoint. It was really interesting. It was just kind of just the overall conversation he had, the way that he does handle his craft, I thought was very fascinating. So now you expedite that window, that timetable of, okay, you guys, and Rhett Lauder's in this case and in this boat as well, because they both pitched on Saturday. Rhett Lauder Saturday afternoon and Paul Skeens Saturday night. You guys are coming on what Kyle Peterson said was major league rest. You get the 4 days, and here you go. See what you can do. Well, both these guys are going to be Major League Baseball players. Both these guys are going to make a lot of money at the next level. So this is a part of their routine and their game that is eventually going to come. The question is, will one of them be able to handle the quicker turnaround than what they're used to better? I don't worry about arm fatigue here, Jimmy. I don't worry about that, because I think 4 days, in fact, we've seen in College World Series where you will do the short rest of 3 days. I think 4 days is good, should be more than enough time. But when you're not used to it, and that preparation, that timetable, how, when you got your bullpen and all of the things that take place between your last start to your next start, how is that handled? How is that simulated? And will either one of these guys show any ill effects of that? That's going to be huge, because you got to look at this with Wake Forest. Yes, they are rake Forest because they absolutely rake the baseball. They can hit you. And as I talked about, you haven't seen that ridiculously crooked number in the College World Series. If there's a team that could go off on that, you would have thought it'd been Wake Forest. Wake Forest could put up a 4 or 5 spot like that.
And that's what was kind of expected by many.
Yeah. I mean,
last night.
even with the way that this ballpark plays, I've said it many times already. The ball has had no problem leaving the ballpark when the conditions are right.
And it was a gritty, gutty win by LSU last night. I mean, they manufactured the pitching, and
look at
tough.
Beloso's home run is a prime example. The ball can fly out.
Yeah.
If you're making the contact that these teams are more than capable of making. But to not see Wake Forest offense really erupt, and if there was a team that was going to have that absurd, ridiculous, 5 or 6 spot, you would think Wake Forest would be capable of. For the most part, their offense has been held in check. Even in their wins, their offense has been more in the opportunistic variety as opposed to the overwhelming onslaught of the long ball and just, stringing single or double after double and extra base hit after extra base hit. Like, it just hasn't been there.
Which shows you how tough it is.
Yeah, exactly. And for LSU, they've been, from the offensive standpoint, have been maybe a little bit more overlooked because of Wake Forest. But when you look at Cruz in that lineup, you saw what Beloso can do. Like, they can hit you in different ways. We've seen Dugas go yard. So there are guys in this lineup that can swing it as well. This is where I asked the question yesterday to Mike Rooney. Is there a little concern that Wake Forest is yet to play up to their offensive identity, or can you look at it as a positive of they're still winning games without playing up to their offensive identity? And I asked that yesterday before they lost their first game. Now that they've lost a game and they were unable to do anything more than 2 runs, and they got those 2 early, but could not compound it at all.
Much hope to make a run. That game was over quickly the last couple innings.
Yeah, and that was the other thing is you had a freshman in Griffin Herring who really handcuffed them. This was a guy who ended up going 4 2/3 last night, which was his longest outing in his career, in his very young career. And he was the one that was able to handcuff him. And he had to sort of maneuver through some pretty tough innings and got some big-time hitters, including guys like Brock Wilkins. So this is where I do wonder about Wake Forest. Now, you can, just from a mental approach, in my opinion, Jimmy, you can look at going into games not having the offensive firepower that you're used to having and winning those games and thinking exactly what I asked yesterday. We're fine. It's going to erupt at any moment. Hey, we're still winning. So we can win this way, all the better. Now it finally bit you in the behind where your offense stayed stagnant. You had 1 good inning. That was it.
Well, then you run the risk of your start pressing.
Exactly.
You can't do that. Just
where
play.
Now do you start sort of second-guessing your approach? I think it was Jay Johnson that was talking about this before the Tennessee game, the second Tennessee game on Tuesday night. Gary had asked him the question during the pregame of how do you approach now that elimination setting if you're the team? And he said you can't do anything different. You have to continue to be you. Wake Forest, it's obviously going to be very important because in the snap of the finger, that offense can ignite. But to your point, it hasn't happened yet. They finally lost a game. Now they're battling for their lives. Is that much easier said than done, given what Wake Forest was able to do coming into Omaha?
I'll give you a slight, because, I mean, it's, again, apples to oranges, but a parallel here, a Major League Baseball postseason parallel for you. Your beloved, you and Shape's beloved Cleveland team, 95 World Series, those dudes could bash the ball.
Oh, yeah.
They could. I mean, they were a 100-win team. And because of the way home field started back then and the way it went, it was alternating. So they play the Braves, and the Braves beat them with good pitching. They had good players, too. I mean, they could hit the ball, but it was their pitching staff. And in Game 6, Tom Glavine throws a 1-hitter against that lineup.
Yeah.
But then what happened is throughout that series, they start pressing because that offensive eruption you were expecting from Cleveland never really happens.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a mental game because,
so too.
But as long as you're winning, you're like, we're fine. But the second you lose a game, and then on the flip side, what ends up happening is if you're LSU, you start to think, hey, boys, we're a team of destiny. Look at that. We cobbled together this, yesterday you guys were talking about how are they going to get the pitching staff together? What are they going to do? How do they tie it together so they can get back to Skeens? And both of you and Gary didn't have a complete answer, and that's kind of where they were at. Well, they found a way to get there. So now you get Skeens tonight, And then the other thing my mind went is, well, then what do you do for the championships? Just get there.
Yeah, you figure it out.
It's like Game 7 in the LCS.
Yeah.
Just get there, and then you figure it out. Get a day off. I do think whoever wins tonight, and I'll tell you who I think will win, but I also tell you who I'm rooting to win. And but I think the championship series goes the full 3. I think it's gonna be really good. Whoever wins that game tonight, I'd be so disappointed if it's a 2-game sweep, because I just think they're really good baseball teams, all 3 of them that are remaining. And I think we're going to get the full 3, and we'll have a good final on Monday night.
Yeah, I think you've seen the teams that remain.
I'd be shocked.
And now what's interesting about Wake Forest is they've never lost consecutive games. So if LSU is to make it into the championship series, they will have handed Wake Forest consecutive losses that have never taken place for this team.
And then they really realize that, we are a team of destiny. Look how much we keep battling back. Look how much we keep doing it. How guys are stepping up, making plays, and you end up 2 nights in a row beating the number 1 team in the land. And now you get, we're playing SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be quite the festive weekend at the Chuck.
And to your point about the championship series of whichever one of these teams emerge, I would give you this. And that is simply this tournament. It's been talked about so many times, but I think it kind of goes into that conversation of the championship series of how good it has been. I think it's only natural to lead you to believe that whoever wins on Saturday night, most likely it's a 4-3, 5-4, 6-5.
I think it's the kind of games we're going to get.
We've seen, and I mentioned Wake Forest.
We're not getting 12-2 games anymore.
I don't think so.
At all. We didn't get any.
I really don't think so, but there's always an exception to the trend.
Jinxed it.
But think about it. The stat I just threw out of Wake Forest that they have not lost consecutive games all year. What you've also seen is teams do a great job of bouncing back. Now, that could play in great for Wake Forest tonight, or as you said, is LSU just absolutely feeling it? And how could you not be? And it was mentioned on the broadcast when Skeens was going against Tennessee Saturday night that this is probably the best team in America when they've got Skeens going. Because think about it, even if you played at the high school level, when you had your ace going, you feel like you're unbeatable as a team. Like you could be playing shortstop, center field, first base, catcher, whatever the position is. When your guy's going and he's going, like he's doing what he normally does. He's hitting the zone. The velo is
every level. When we get to the World Series, we talk about that. If you get an ace going, you're like, all right, we're in good shape.
Yeah, you just feel invincible. And LSU has talent, lots of talent. Wake Forest has lots of talent. So that's the beauty of the game tonight. Is both of these teams, like Wake Forest, the fact that they haven't been beat consecutive, I think they bring that in tonight of, look, guys, we respond every time this happens, and we got our guy going. Then you've got LSU who feels like, we knocked these guys down yesterday. We should have got them the other night, so we return the favor, and we got our guy going. We feel we're the best team in college baseball. We got our guy going. That's why tonight could very well be the best game. Now,
this would be the game you want to go to in general.
When you dip into the bullpen tonight, because it's going to happen.
Hey, who steps up?
Exactly. That's where the edge is, in my opinion, of what to watch after you've got Rhett Lauder and Paul Skeens on the shelf, because this is where the short turnaround, unless these guys are minimizing innings, this is where that short turnaround, I think, could be a little bit different than as if they were to throw game 1 of the championship series. Is that fatigue most likely sets in quicker, again, unless you're minimizing your pitch count. So whose bullpen is going to be able to deliver? And right now, you'd be a crazy person to write off LSU on what they've done. They've used arms, but it seems like they keep finding somebody, whether it's Ackenhausen the other night or last night, a freshman in Griffin Herring who just comes out of nowhere to give you 4 2/3 of shutout baseball. They've continued to deliver sort of that heroic effort out of the bullpen or a little used starter. Now Wake Forest might have to go to that at some point tonight if
that's where somebody becomes a
situation
legend.
where Lauder gets out of the game.
Like that's where you get a legend. That's you talked about Griffin Herring. Like that's where you never forget that guy who steps up.
Yep.
I mean, even Gary. Look, Gary knows baseball quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said the other day that LSU is probably done. No, he didn't say probably. He said they're done, that Tennessee would beat them. It wasn't a knock at them or anything. I get exactly where he was coming from. And that says a lot to LSU and what they've been able to do, because the odds were, everything has been stacked against them and they keep winning.
Yep.
And you start to feel that almost invincibility that, hey, we're destined.
Mhm.
And then with each win, it gets bigger and bigger.
And this is maybe a conversation for a different day, depending on what happens to LSU tonight. Think how good this team would have been, though. They lost a starter early in the year and another guy, two significant arms. How much better off they would be right now, too. And look, baseball's a funny game. Things happen, so you're never guaranteed regardless. But, yeah.
I honestly, I have no idea who's going to. And that's what makes this fun, is because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, we could convince you. What you were saying convinced me within 5 minutes that one team was going to win, and then you convinced me the other team's going to win.
Yeah. Because there's a case to be made about both of them. Yeah. About how they're feeling.
Which is a tribute to both teams and how good they are.
Well, and it goes without saying, physically, both these teams are stacked. Okay, you had one team who was a preseason number one and just an absolute load of talent on LSU, and then you had another team that was pretty much the number one team all year in Wake Forest. Once they finally took over that spot, they never let it go. So clearly, the talent is there for both of these teams. It just comes down to the approach. Where they at mentally? What do you get out of your studs tonight? And what bullpen can step up? How these coaches decide to manage what's behind their ace pitchers tonight, who I would be shocked if we saw Rhett Lauder and or Paul Skeens be able to deliver complete game type performances. That I don't think there's any way that's happening. So
if they do, that'll be the lead tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah,
wow.
Then we've got something else. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Brian Edwards. Going to get his thoughts on a couple of futures in the college football, including the Ohio State Buckeyes, also some UFC. That is going to wrap things up after this on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
Peerless Energy Systems is Nebraska and Iowa's locally owned and operated authorized solar air compressor distributor. Peerless Energy Systems provides products and solutions for compressed air systems, helping companies in manufacturing, food processing, transportation, auto body repair, car dealers, and more. Driving industry efficiency through service, support, and relationships, let Peerless Energy Systems help you increase efficiency with your compressed air systems today. PeerlessEnergy.com.
It's good to be able to make a change, to never feel stuck. That's why at Cox, we're making a change too. Now Cox Internet plans are flexible, so you can choose to just go with Internet, add TV tomorrow, or home automation down the line. It's easier than ever to get just what you want and nothing you don't. Flexible plans from Cox. Change anytime. No commitments, no penalties. See for yourself at cox.com/internet. Additional services can be added at then current regular rates. All services subject to residential customer service agreement and acceptable use policy. Restrictions apply.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked or uneven concrete, Everlevel can do it all with their complete repair solutions. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, and protect the surface, all at a fraction of the price compared to replacement. And better yet, they offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah, it's that time as we wrap up a Thursday, every Thursday right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, talking to our guy, Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider. What's going on, B? How are you today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm well. So, hey, first of all, have you been getting a lot of taking a lot of action, paying a lot of attention to Omaha and college baseball? Because I know, remember, we found out with all these coaching scandals and betting that college baseball is actually bet on.
Yes, indeed. Certainly, Alabama is bet on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been paying a little bit of attention to it.
Your Gators, man.
Yeah. I put them in a parlay yesterday with the Braves. The Braves got washed out, so I got paid a little bit on that one. But I also did a little bit on the run line, which I lost.
Okay.
I haven't seen the odds for they don't even know their opponent yet. We'll find out tonight.
Right. I do want to start with some college football, and I know as most people are, we're starting to get inundated with our Phil Steele magazines and getting into all of the forecasts, the upcoming season, which will be here before we know it. But teams that are kind of interesting, and a team right now that I think when you look at Steve Sarkisian and you look at the trajectory of Texas and Ewers and what this season not only means for their last stand in the Big 12, but also getting ready for the SEC. How are you kind of looking at Texas entering the season with their win total and where you kind of stand on the Longhorns?
Well, they've got a lot of potential. There's no doubt about it. Look, they've got a season win total of 9.5 at FanDuel, shaded to the over, -124. If you like the under, it's +102. They're the overwhelming favorite, +115 chalk to win the Big 12. They have 25-1 odds to win the CFP, and Phil Steele's Big 12 unit rankings have them number one at every single position group, and one of the other ones, it was either Athlon's or Lindy's, also had them number one at every position group. So there's no excuse to not win the Big 12. I mean, Oklahoma's down. ECU's not going to be what they were last year. Gundy will probably find a way to win 7 or 8 like he always does, but I think Oklahoma State's down, or at least on paper, going into the year. So there's no excuses. Obviously, they got a tough game at Bama. You know, I look at their schedule. I see 7 for sure wins. I think they lose at Bama, although they could have clipped them last year. But this one on the road, even with Alabama's uncertainty at QB, I like Bama to at least win that one outright. I see 4 swing games at Baylor, Kansas State at home, at TCU, at Iowa State. Now, they'll probably be favored in all those games. I think they'll probably get clipped in at least one. I'll say at Baylor. They should probably go 10-2, but I'm not going to play over 9.5, especially the way Ewers struggled in November last year, and they lose Bijan Robinson. And look, they haven't won 10 games in the regular season. They didn't even win. Let's see. They won 10 in 18, but that was the bowl game, so it wouldn't count toward the win total. They haven't won 10 in the regular season since 2009, so I can't trust them to go over, although I'd probably lean that way, but I'm not playing it.
A team that, well, I guess we'll say fortunately, because they will be in a couple of years, not on Nebraska's schedule this year, but Ohio State. It's interesting conversations about Ohio State because of how talented this team is year in and year out, yet now all of a sudden in the last couple of years, they're chasing the tail of the Michigan Wolverines when it was the exact opposite before. But as you see, there's always a sizable win total for Ohio State, and having to look at the quarterback position and make sure that they're figuring that out first and foremost. What are your thoughts on Ohio State entering?
You know, they're super talented. Athlon's preseason NFL magazine did a 2024 draft outlook with top 50 prospects, and 9 of the top 33 played for Ohio State. Their national unit rankings with Phil Steele, they're top 10 at every position except for the secondary. They're number 12, and quarterback, they're number 43. But quarterback is kind of a question mark. Is it going to be Kyle McCord or Devin Brown? We don't know yet, but they're loaded with talent. Their win total is 10.5. I see 8 for sure wins, 4 swing games at Notre Dame. They're favored by 8.5. They are also a 10.5 point favorite at home to Penn State, a 10-point favorite at Wisconsin, and then the other one at Michigan, where they're +1 at FanDuel, +2.5 at DraftKings. So, I would probably lean to the over, but I doubt I'll play it. Maybe they can get beat at Notre Dame. They certainly can get beat at Michigan. And look, the at Wisconsin game is 1 week after Penn State. That could be a tricky one, assuming they get past Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the questions at QB, I just can't pull the trigger on an over 10.5. But I'm not on the under either. I would say it's a pass.
Yeah. Are you attending UFC Jacksonville this weekend?
For the third year in a row, I am fired up. Indeed, I am.
And I know there's a lot to take in, so this is going to be where a lot of your focus is going to be, especially from a wagering standpoint, and I'm sure there's some stuff you can share with the betting public on which way you're leaning. Where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so let's go. I'm going to go with a 3-fight parlay with Topuria in the main event, along with Randy Brown and Brendan Allen. That pays 1+197. I'm also going to go with Topuria. So to win by KO, he's +190. To win by sub, he's +160. It's a 5-round fight with Josh Emmett, who's now 38. Topuria is 13-0, 8 submissions, 4 KOs. I'm probably just going to do the same amount on the prop to win by KO and sub, since they're both, if you split, you still, it's +160 and +190, you still make a nice profit. I'll probably have a little bit more, maybe a little bit more on the sub prop. I'm also going to go with Macy Barber, +165 in the co-main event against Amanda Ribas. She has won 4 fights in a row. And then I'm also going to go with Brendan Allen, to win by submission is +165, and then inside the distance +105. Get the KO. Do 1 unit on inside the distance at +105, and then about 3/4 of a unit on him to win by sub at +175. 12 of his 21 career wins by submission. And his opponent, Bruno Silva, 6 of his 8 career losses are by submission. And Allen's won 4 in a row, 3 by submission. So there you go. Allen on the prop inside the distance and submission.
All right. So as you are attending UFC Jacksonville, how does Brian Edwards enjoy his time as a fan, as a member of the audience at this particular event?
So the last 2 have been pay-per-views at night where we, met at the bar and did some pre-partying.
Yeah.
This is a prelim start at noon Eastern.
Oh.
So maybe just 1 beer or 2 on the ride there.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And then we'll enjoy libations at the show, of course.
Real quickly before I let you go, too, and I want to kind of circle back to college football. We've talked about it so many times on the show about Nebraska's 2023 win total, and it's a tricky one because I think a lot of people feel like, yes, Matt Rule can get him back to a bowl game. 6 wins would do the trick. That number being at 6, and you kind of said this with Ohio State, it's maybe kind of it might be one to stay away from. Are you invested in that one way or the other?
Not yet, but I really haven't done my deep dive on Nebraska. Just scanning, the schedule right here. I'm going to say,
because we've all kind of said it here that we feel like coming out of spring, this feels like a 6-6 team, and when that number is sitting right there at 6, like, could you tease that down to 5.5? Because maybe you could talk me into it.
Right. I'm looking at the schedule right here. I was just going to say 6-6 or 7-5. I think Jeff Sims has got a lot of upside. Those are some bad Georgia Tech teams that he was on, man. I think he's really talented. And Matt Rule is a miracle worker, man. What he did at Temple and Baylor was nothing short of spectacular. I think it was a Grand Slam hire. Now, whether we'll see dividends this year or not remains to be seen. But just all in all, I think Nebraska fans got to feel a lot better about where they're at today compared to this time last year.
Hey, B, enjoy UFC Jacksonville, man. I know you will, and appreciate you coming on. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
All right, man. Have a great weekend as well. Thank you.
It's Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, and he's going to have himself a fun weekend out there. UFC Jacksonville. I mean, he's got a lot of plays, and especially the. Have you ever been to a UFC event? I've never been to an actual I've been to a couple mixed martial arts events.
The closest is when someone would get in a fight in high school. You would gather all around in a circle, and
they would
start
apply
taking
some mixed martial arts.
yeah.
Which can be just as entertaining. But
guy would yell he wanted to fight Tong Po, and it's
Tong Po from Kickboxer. Can we take inventory real quickly before we get out of here and send it over to the guys in the Omaha Baseball Village. So far today we have discussed Escape from LA,
Escape from New York, which you've not seen, which is surprising. I know Josh Otson's seen it.
Yeah. Okay. We did get a planes, trains, and automobiles reference in there. We got a Coming to America reference in. Yeah. I feel like I'm missing a couple of
got Big Lebowski in.
Oh, yeah, Big Lebowski in there as well, because we were talking about the bowling story again, who, by the way, TC is just having so much fun with this on the Equitable Bank inbox.
Thank you, TC.
Yes, we appreciate that. So we've covered a lot, I think, when it does come to some cinematic adventures, which is always fun.
We talked about, let's see. Election?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, we got in the movie Election.
I don't know if we kind of got American Pie. We did talk about Chris Klein.
Yeah, we didn't really go the American Pie route. It went more of the election route. And then whatever
kept it local.
Whatever that Lifetime movie was, which I don't know what it was called.
Burning Bed 2.
The Girl Next. Oh, wait, no, there was actually a movie called The Girl Next Door. It was not that one.
So add that to the list, to The Girl Next Door.
Girl Next Door. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about at one point, I did use the phrase "the juice is worth the squeeze" when I was talking about Webanyama. So there you go. There's the Girl Next Door reference.
And when we were talking about friends and when you downgrade them to acquaintances, I just for some reason thought, "Now to you, I am dead."
I don't know.
Program. We got the program in there.
We did
seat at the table.
Yeah, seat at the table. Yeah.
Necessary roughness.
Yep, for
the Huskers have a quarterback that throws like Edward Scissorhands, and they're going to be playing a hell of a lot of defense.
Pobkey, send it in. I think we just need
double.
Anytime it is myself and Jimmy doing a show, and hopefully Gary is not too ashamed of us, we need to have a movie bingo card. Because this all happens organic. Jimmy and I do not plan on talking about or making references to movies.
That would sound terrible.
It just organically
happens. Little Giants.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we did actually.
I just blasted. That was my hot sports take of the show, was I blasted Ed O'Neill's piss poor coaching job in that.
But no, that wasn't the hot take. The hot take is that you were all in on the Cowboys.
Yes, absolutely.
You were Team Spike and not Team Icebox.
Yeah. Not that I advocate for such things, but
and then we made a Die Hard reference because I said you also rooted for Hans Gruber at the end.
If she wasn't wearing knee or any kind of leg pads, how come there weren't chop blocking? Especially since this was a little more acceptable then.
Well, yeah, and I think the rules that apply to quarterbacks now that didn't back then probably could have led to taking out Junior Floyd. Just saying.
Who I said was actually a better quarterback than he got credit for. Yeah. He's maybe the best player not named Icebox on that team.
It's true. No, I'm not going to disagree.
I mean, the Keymaster outcoached Al Bundy. Let's put Ghostbusters on there. There is no Dana, only Zool.
Gozer. Big thanks to our guests on the show, Greg Smith, Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards, all good stuff right there. And if you missed any of it, the radio replay is up, or just completely pointless conversations that also had to do with fun facts about elephants too. And we had a little bit of it all.
They can swing them trunks.
Yes, they can.
Helicoptering.
Keep themselves cool, flapping their ears. Big baseball matchup tonight at the College World Series, LSU and Wake Forest. Our guys will begin coverage down at the Omaha Baseball Village, the Connor Happer Show with Josh Odson coming your way. Then it'll be Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer at Unsportsmanlike Conduct, taking you all the way up to pregame at 5:40, LSU Wake Forest. We'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about it. Enjoy the rest of your day. You've been listening to Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy here on 6.